thank goodness we finally got out of there. Thanks, Steele. What was there a problem?
Yeah,
what
happened? The heck was that? What?
You lost connection? How on earth did that happen? Your connection's supposed to be a lot faster than anything on the planet.
Come on.
It was behind a firewall you'd never dealt with before?
Huh? What?
That computer was from 1989. Fine, I get it. You don't know everything. What time is it? We've got to be getting. Oh, good. Now it is almost time to start the show.
Oh my gosh.
Deela, have you heard from Jimmy and Nate? Are they anywhere around here? They're right outside the door. Why didn't you say so? Jacob, go let them in right quick.
Come on, guys.
Sorry about y'all getting stuck outside there. Y'all doing all right?
Yeah, we're doing fine. You just better be glad that we're friends with Gridman, or else we wouldn't have gotten here anywhere close to on time.
My apologies. We were kind of delayed. We'll get into that in a minute because we are like minutes, if not seconds, from needing to start the show. Y'all, we'll explain what happened when we get to the other side. Y'all ready to jump into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, well, he got lost on the grid. Welcome, Jacob.
Oh my gosh, it feels like the last movie we were in. Oh my gosh. At least we're not stuck in the woods this time.
No, and we don't have to worry about Digimon following us, even though we got close to that sort of thing.
Sheesh. That is so true. Why, thank you. And let me introduce our co-host, a man who, thank the Lord we didn't run into a digital doppelganger of him. Welcome, Drew.
I know there's people have said that they've seen different versions of me somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is just weird.
Uh-huh.
But I'm glad that we didn't run into the evil version out there in the grid. That would have been rather awkward.
Yeah.
Also, joining us this week, straight from Monster Island, is a man who, well, he's had some interesting bouts with computers. Welcome, Nathan.
Hey, guys! And it's funny that you bring up the evil double thing. I technically have a double. It's my pseudo-sister, but, you know, that's a long story that I'm not prepared to get into.
But she's not evil.
No. She's
Thankfully.
mean to me, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm still smarting from when she yelled at us last year when we crashed into Mothra's egg on the other trip to your place.
Yeah. And then she had to...
She was not happy with us there.
No, and then she had to save the egg from her nemesis. That was fun.
It sounded like
I missed most of it because I got thrown. I missed most of that, though, because I got tossed into the ocean.
That happens.
Yeah, it does.
And technically, also, you brought along Jimmy, didn't you?
Yes, but he has to stay outside because I was informed by my friends at the legal action team that there is a restraining order.
A little. Just a little.
Technically, she says. But she's willing not to complain since... if it weren't for Jimmy, we wouldn't have gotten back. Deela, what happened?
What?
You want Jimmy to tell it? Well, let Jimmy in here.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. Well, he's still using that defective mic, unfortunately. No lip from right now, Jimmy. Okay, and please don't pick a fight with Deela anymore. You swear it's not your fault. You know what? I don't need to know, okay? I don't need to know. That is true. You do have a girlfriend now, so I don't think Deela needs to worry.
She said she still reserves the right to tell Jimmy to shut up. At any time.
That's true. I tell Jimmy to shut up all the time. In fact, when we first launched the Monster Island Film Vault, people thought we hated each other. We don't hate each other. We're actually best friends. We just pick on each other because it's good radio.
That was... Deela just said thank you, Jimmy, for helping her get us out of there. Which, yeah, I'm kind of curious. What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said, when we walked in to meet you guys, you're better be glad that we're friends with Gridman, because, you know, he knows all about how to jump between the digital world and the real world. So, yeah.
That's good to know. Although, D-Lit, I'm just going to say right now, we don't want to jump into any more computer worlds ever again. We've had so much trouble with that between Digimon and this. I think we need to stay in fantasy or sci-fi worlds, just no longer computers.
Yes. Please.
And she agrees with us there.
And at least I don't have dog ears this time.
Oh, yeah.
She just said, give it time.
Oh, man. Why does she hate thee?
Jacob, are you sure you're not a lichen? Just a very funny one?
Maybe. You never know.
This didn't start happening until after D-Lit showed up.
That is true.
So
it'd be like, I don't know, might be something I'm working through, or, you know, I don't know. We shall see.
Anyway, I
Oh.
want to go ahead and jump into the spoiler-free section.
Drew, I bet I know that. I bet Jacob is actually Kruger in disguise. What do you think?
No, he's not that cool.
Wow.
Okay. I love my brother in Christ here. As a brother in Christ, let me rephrase that specifically. But he is not Doggy Kruger. He is not Anubis Doggy Kruger.
I tried to help you out, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
Anyway, y'all want to jump into the spoiler-free section of our review on this movie?
Sure.
On Tron Legacy.
Certified fresh and spoiler free.
Well, Nathan, why don't you tell us about your thoughts on this movie?
Well, are we going to talk about the fact that this is kind of stretching the purview of your show a little bit?
A touch.
A little.
I don't think it's as bad as A Little Shop of Horrors was. Because puppetry by itself is already a stretch, even though we consider it part of the definition.
Well, at least there's a puppet in that movie.
And it was only only like half the movie's runtime total.
Right.
There is almost, I don't think there's any CG characters unless you count Jeff Bridges' younger self.
Well, which we'll get into that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
We'll get into that. But I feel like I'm kind of responsible for this movie being covered, because one of the first episodes of your guys' show that I ever listened to was when I can't remember the name of the gentleman you had on, but
Chase.
What? Who?
Chase. Chase Murphy, a good friend.
Chase, all right. Yeah, you had him on and you talked about the original Tron, which I very much enjoyed that episode, but he said very disparaging things. He besmirched Legacy, and I felt like I needed to jump to its defense. So that eventually turned into this episode.
Wait a minute. You felt the need to jump to a defense of a movie that was made somewhat on nostalgia for a movie from like the late 80s, early 90s, to jump to its defense because a lot of people don't like the new version. This is sounding familiar. Like your thoughts on a certain other Ranger movie that just happened to you just happened to have covered twice not long after you were on your show.
Right. Well, the difference is I loved Legacy from the first time I saw it. So
I will say that I did not have my issues with Legacy had nothing to do with the movie. I'll get into that when we get to my spoiler-free section.
Yeah.
So, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on this?
Well, like I said, I've loved this movie since the first time I saw it, and I think it's grossly underappreciated, underestimated. I feel the same way about this Tron is technically a franchit because you have the two movies.
Now, yes.
There was an animated series that got killed before it was done. It ends on a cliffhanger. Clearly wanted a second season and never got one. It's called Tron Uprising. It was actually a really interesting show. You can watch it on Disney Plus. And It's a
Nothing
sequel.
saying they couldn't make a second season because how long did it take them to finish Rapunzel?
About 2 to 3 years.
That was a 3 years, 3 seasons
Three,
thing
four,
anyway.
three,
So
four,
that's
like
actually
4
fairly
years,
quick.
actually.
Anyway, never mind then.
Right. But it's a prequel to Legacy and a sequel to the original. So it's setting up a lot of the stuff that we hear in the backstory for this film. And it was really starting to get good when, they ended it prematurely. And it'll probably never get a second season, which is unfortunate. They fireflied it.
On that. I've watched like the first episode. So yeah, I get what you're saying. It was what I saw looked good. It's just I hadn't gotten around to finishing it yet.
Right.
Jacob, what are your spoiler-free thoughts?
This is my first time watching this movie.
Really?
Yes. I be like I had heard of it. There again, like when this movie came out, be like I had vaguely heard of Tron, vaguely heard of it, and I saw like bits and pieces of the original. I was like, this doesn't look really that good because there again, it's coming from an older version of me. Because there again, back in the 80s, we never watched it. I never heard about it until probably the mid to late 90s, and then Tron Legacy comes out, and it's like I know nothing about this movie franchise. The other one came out almost 30 years ago. And so for the review, obviously I'm watching it. And I found myself...
Did you watch the original Tron before you watched it for
No,
review?
I hadn't.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember, because I vaguely remembered you saying you hadn't seen that either, just because it wasn't... You never got around to it.
Yeah, never got around to it. It was never on my radar. So watching this for the review, I really enjoyed the film. There again, having some context of watching the previous film for our review for the last time. It was good. It was a very enjoyable story, visually amazing, and there's parts here and there that I really enjoy. But then there's parts of it where it's like you go a little uncanny valley. You go a little bit of it's like why couldn't they release this earlier? But that's just me.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy the film. Yeah.
You spent a summer in the Uncanny Valley? Just a silly place, isn't it?
Considering what we saw when we watched Rescue Rangers, that movie, I can imagine how strange it was.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Nah. Yeah.
We may be making more trips to the Uncanny Valley in the next couple of years, because I know some movies we haven't covered yet.
That's true. So
especially of the Zemeckis variety.
Oh
no.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
if you want to hear me rant master about Beowulf,
that's one of the ones we're thinking about at some point.
Yeah.
I think we may. I didn't even
that
think of
button. That button.
We may have to have you back on for that.
Yes.
It is kaiju adjacent, and I love the old poem, and that movie made me angry.
It made me angry, and all I remembered was what I was forced to read in English class.
Oh gosh, yes.
I didn't have much faith in it at that point, because if you don't want to read something, you usually don't like it anyway. But
anyways, so to quote a famous movie from like the mid 90s, be like, take his face off. That's all I'm saying. But I really enjoyed the film for what it was. I did kind of like Drew. I watched the first episode of Tron Uprising. I was like, this is pretty good. Why in the world is this character doing this? To me, it makes no sense, because in the movie they set it up. It's this, and then in the prequel or sequel,
it's a prequel.
It's a prequel.
Prequel series. They're setting up like, oh, he's doing this behind the scenes. I'm like, okay, but
it makes sense if you watch the rest of the show. But then it gets cut off.
Okay.
And they're like, I see how where it ends, it eventually gets to Legacy, but you don't get to see the rest of the connective tissue.
Ah,
right.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, that is my spoiler-free thoughts on the movie.
So yeah, this is my second viewing of the film. The first viewing I watched was back when it was in theaters. And
Did you see it in 3D or not?
Oh, I saw it in 3D. This was actually the last 3D movie I paid money for. Intentionally. Sometimes, I went to see the 3D version because that's the only one that was available when I could be at the theater, or it was the only way it was showing. I still don't understand why they had to put The Lion King in 3D. That wasn't worth it.
Oh, jeez. That was a headache.
That one I went to more for curiosity.
Yes.
To see how was that going to look?
What was that again, Jimmy? 2 words, easy money. Yeah.
True. And I'm afraid of what the Beauty and the Beast would look like in 3D since it also got that treatment. But this was the last time I did it because literally at one point I ended up taking the glasses off during the middle of the film because I had a scratch around my eyes. And I looked at the screen and realized, oh, I don't actually need the glasses. Because despite the fact it's a 3D film, the depth is like nothing. And the thing is, I did some lookup. This actually was filmed properly in 3D. It's not a post-production 3D.
Right.
Which is what I was thinking
I have some thoughts on the 3D.
But yeah, this is not as impressive as the first Avatar movie was in 3D. And that was the only time I was ever happy with it. Plus, I think it was around this time I realized if 3D works, I shouldn't notice it. Which means why am I paying $2 for something I'm not going to notice? But c'est la vie. The funny thing about this one is this was actually my birthday movie the year it came out.
Oh, really?
And I had worked like a full 8-hour shift at Walmart the day of. And because of some choices, an accident on my part, I admit it's my fault. When I came into work the next morning, I was not really fired, but I was
relieved of duty.
I was told to go home for the day and think if I really truly wanted to keep working for Walmart. Because I had nearly accidentally sent not allowed a minor to go to lunch on time.
Oh,
because it's complicated. Let's just say there was not pleasant memories. And unfortunately, my first viewing of Tron Legacy is wrapped up in that. So I was kind of looking forward to watching it without having to think of having those memories continuing to pop up in my head around it.
Now, then you should appreciate the suffering I had to go through to watch most of the old Gamera movies kind of under the gun.
Yeah. If I remember, you were not in a good spot there on the show for that.
No. I nearly broke when I got to Gamera Super Monster.
I can see that.
Right.
But anyway.
I don't care if you're one of the Kennys.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like some context, go listen to the Monster on Film Vault Season 2, the Gear of Gamera episodes.
It's particularly the one for Gamera versus Virus. Because apparently that movie is based on a very eventful chapter of my intrepid producer's life. It's not just the war in space anymore. He helped Gamera save the world from space squids, which is how he says he got his job at NASA. Yay.
Anyway, we have anything else to add before we actually jump into the full review of this thing?
I'm cool.
Nope.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into it then. The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie Tron Legacy. Listener discretion is advised. I'd like to point out I nearly just said Tron Uprising because we talked about it so much. Because it's kind of the same.
That is true.
You could use the name for this movie, it would have worked.
True.
I'm surprised they didn't call it Tron Reboot. Oh, wait, we already had a computer-based show called Reboot.
Yes. I remember that show. I remember back when it was good before they tried to turn it into a Power Rangers ripoff.
Oh my gosh.
They did that? I never finished it.
Apparently, that's what Drew said.
It was one of the Netflix originals.
Oh, you're talking about the Netflix, not the original. You're talking about the new Netflix version. Never mind.
Yes, but it technically is. Yeah, I don't know if they still would consider it canon if they kept making new shows, but that thing existed, and boy, was it not even a good Power Rangers season.
Well,
But
funny
anyway.
enough, I don't think Power Rangers has quite gone and done that. Sentai did. Mega Ranger.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'd say in terms of quality, maybe Super Duper Megaforce was that bad, but
Oh, no. We don't talk
But
about
moving on.
Megaforce.
So yeah, Tron Legacy. It was directed by Joseph Kosinski, and he recently directed Top Gun Maverick.
And made
Really?
$1 gazillion. And
Yeah.
it's actually, Maverick is actually not the first movie he made with Tom Cruise. He also
It
did.
was just the,
He also
it was
directed
just the biggest one I
Oblivion.
saw.
Remember, you guys were.
Oh yeah, I was Oblivion.
Yep.
Like, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
I hadn't.
I
seen
thought it was a good movie.
I hadn't seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's an interesting
also-
little movie. I need to watch it again.
It was also written by Edward Kitsis, Adam Horowitz, Brian Klugman, and Lee Sternthal, and of course based on the original movie with characters created by Steven Lisberger and Bonnie McBird.
Mm-hmm.
Cast includes Jeff Bridges as both Kevin Flynn and Clue, and in True Grit 2010 he played Rooster Cogburn.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Hedlund played Sam Flynn, and in the television show Tulsa King, he's going up against Sylvester Stallone in that show, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
Yes, he is.
He played a character named Mitch Keller.
Hmm.
Olivia Wilde played Cora, which I remember because there's like an internet resource now called Cora.
I
I
know.
don't know if that existed before that point. I really would love to know. But she played a character in House whose nickname was 13, and she was a very major character in that show once she got introduced. But it was also around this time.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Boxleitner played Alan Bradley,
Mm-hmm.
and Tron. And in Babylon 5, he played
Mhm.
Captain John Sheridan, later President John Sheridan, the main character of that show.
Oh, okay.
Well, from season 2 onward,
Well, yes.
they had a different commander in the first season, Sinclair.
True.
I'm a nerd.
And if I probably made that same mistake on last time when Chase was here, and he probably corrected me then also. Because he's a big Babylon 5 nerd also.
Just a little.
Anyway, James Frayne played Jarvis, and he played Thomas Cromwell in The Tutors. That's the Tutors, not
Yes,
the Tutors.
Oh, okay.
TUDOR.
Yeah, it's not a farting comedy thing.
I know what the tutors are. I'm a history nerd.
That sounds like a Monty Python sketch,
I knew you did.
actually.
I was like, I just had this thing. I need to see Monty Python make a historical parody called The Tutors, where where Henry VIII had a gas problem.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, my veins are popping.
John Cleese, I know you're listening to this. Make that happen. Get all of your buddies who are still alive and make it happen.
Exactly. Bo Garrett played Jim, and she was Jessica Preston in the show The Good Doctor. Michael Sheen played both Castor and Zeus, and he was David Frost in Frost Nixon. Anis Chuarfa, I'm probably saying that wrong. He was the stunt double, or he essentially played Rensler.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also a stunt double for like a lot of the characters in Avengers Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Huh. It's like I saw like 7 different things on there. It's like all MCU. It's like, yeah, you're getting work right now, aren't you?
Just a little
bit of work. And of course, Daft Punk was the composers for this film, and also had a cameo as the musicians in Zeus's bar.
Club End of Line
Club.
The End of Line
End of Line Club.
Yeah.
Which I could have sworn when I saw this originally, it was a lot more obvious that was Daft Punk. I could have sworn it was the actual Daft Punk helmets when I saw this originally.
It
But
is.
it's not.
Just
This doesn't look like
Tronified.
the Daft Punk helmets.
They do look like them.
They kind of look like them, but they don't look. In my mind, they were like an
Slight
exact
modifications
copy.
to them.
Well,
almost-
they have
they're not.
Tronified outfits, but that is very clearly their outfits.
Either way, it just didn't look as much as I was expecting it to look. Maybe I'll say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
There was only one Kingdom Hearts connection
Really?
in this.
And that Tron is in Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yeah, because he's actually one of your playable characters.
I
in
know.
that. But technically, and this is where I'm going to get a little nerdy,
No.
that Tron is not the same one from the Tron Legacy level in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Because there is actually a separate Kingdom Hearts Legacy level, and it's not the same character.
Interesting.
Even though it is the same character.
I forget. Did Bruce Boxleitner do the voice for Tron in Kingdom Hearts 2? It's been a long time
Yes,
since
he
I
did.
played it.
Ah,
okay, so there you go.
Bruce Boxleitner did play that character.
So there you go. It's a double Kingdom Hearts
In
connection.
fact, strangely enough, like a lot of Tron's voice actors, except for Jeff Bridges, returned for their role in Kingdom Hearts.
Well, there you go. Then
weird.
you have more Kingdom Hearts connections.
Sark is also the same voice, same actor.
Oh, David Warner.
Yeah, David Warner came back for that, which is interesting.
Yeah, but David Warner's not in this one.
Right, but Rinsler, which is the only way you run into him in the Birth by Sleep level, based on this, never speaks. So Bruce Boxleitner did not play the role there.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Jacob, what do we got in info and stuff?
All right. So let me get the info and stuff. All right. Info and stuff. IMDb has 6.8 out of 10. It's available to watch on Disney Plus if you subscribe to Disney Plus. Production was, I almost said it. Production, Walt Disney Pictures, Sean Bailey Productions. Distribution, Walt Disney Studio Motion Pictures. Original release date was November 30th, 2010. Can anybody guess where it was debuted? What country?
Canada.
United States.
Wrong.
Canada.
Japan.
Close. Tokyo.
That Tokyo's in Japan.
That is Japan. Tokyo is not a country in and of itself.
I know.
I worked 500 miles directly south of it.
Technically, since you're in Ogasawara, you are still technically in Tokyo. Because of the weird bureaucratic nonsense. But anyway.
Well, yeah. Why do you think Shin Godzilla exists? Bureaucratic nonsense.
Spoiler alert, I'm making Jacob watch that movie later this year.
There's enough animation in it. It counts.
Oh
No. We are doing a segment of episodes every other month called the Cellcast Plus, where we're reviewing live action movies.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Throw Shin Godzilla.
And because this guy loves
in there, so you can get some more Anno.
Because this guy loves Evangelion, I'm making him watch Shin Godzilla, and then I'll make him watch Shin Ultraman. And then when Shin Kamen Rider comes out, I'll make him watch that too.
Hey, before Shin Kamen Rider comes out, you got to make him watch Cutie Honey. That was Anno, and it's anime, and it's...
I've heard of this.
I know the... Do you mean the live action one? Because there is
a live action movie from 2004.
That's a trip.
It is. And it's the least sleazy thing in the entire franchise.
Oh my gosh.
Which is saying something.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway.
Just talk to our friend Bex. She knows.
All right. On December 17th, 2010, it was released in the United States. Box office budget. It had an estimated budget of $170 million. Its U.S. opening for Canada and the United States, obviously, was $44,000-ish on December 19th, 2010. Yes, million.
You said thousands.
Like millions of bucks. I mean, millions of bucks.
So you said thousands.
I
Like,
mean,
that's
like,
a major difference.
Yes, my mistake.
It's like, good night. I know a lot of people didn't like this film when it first came out, but I didn't think it performed that badly.
Yes, it did absolutely terrible. No. Let me rephrase this.
Yeah, be glad it was me and not Jimmy.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway.
Opening weekend for the United States and Canada was $44 million on December 19th, 2010. You're welcome. All right, so it's U.S. gross and Canada. Gross and Canada. That made no sense, but either or.
U.S. and Canada gross.
Yes, there we go. $172 million, and its worldwide gross was $400 million. So Yeah, it made some cheddar back.
Some.
Some, not a lot, but it made a lot more than the original.
Well, the original made a lot
There's
of
inflation in there.
Yeah,
well.
True.
The thing is the original got popular or more at least they developed a cult following through television and home media.
true.
But also, even when you adjust for inflation, the first Tron was a lot more expensive to make.
True. Oh my gosh, yes.
Good night. I was going back through that, watching how they set that up again earlier this week, and go, good night. They spent way too much time on this. I know why they decided to go with lights this time.
But hey, that's what made the original movie visually unique.
Distinct.
And
Yes,
yeah.
very true.
I would argue that even this one is visually unique, even though it's using a lot of special effects techniques that are more commonplace now. There's nothing that looks quite like this.
True.
Right.
Very true. All right, home release. It was released by Walt Disney Studio Home Entertainment on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital download in North America on April 5th, 2011. Tron Legacy was available for standalone as a single disc DVD and a 2-disc DVD Blu-ray combo pack, and a 4-disc set added with a Blu-ray 3D. Remember that, folks? And
That's the one I have.
Yeah, and a 5-disc featuring both Tron films, also released and entitled The Ultimate Tron Experience, having collector's pack, which including identical disc.
Good night. Was it only 12 years ago they actually gave you special features when you bought a disc?
I know,
Now they give you
right?
Nothing.
Yeah. Like, you buy a movie now, you gotta wait for it to come on their digital platform to watch it. Thanks, Disney.
You're just lucky to actually get the movie
That
in
is true.
English.
True.
And now I have,
Comes
I
with
have
high definition, standard edition, including versions with and without digital extras.
I was just gonna say,
so-
now I have friends who complain about not getting Shin Ultraman on 4K.
I'm just going to say this. While I can tell the difference between 4K and HD and definitely SD, sometimes it really doesn't matter.
In some cases.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But anyway.
Yeah. All right. Sequel. It was announced in 2028.
28?
We're not even near. We're like, whoa,
In the
way
future?
here.
Jacob's prophesying again.
What, time travel shenanigans? What?
Oh my gosh.
No, Jimmy, you can't take credit for a movie that doesn't exist.
All right. Let's start that over, shall we? Sequel. It was slated. Stated.
Deedlit said no time travel shenanigans on her watch.
Agreed. Agreed. October 28th, 2010.
There.
There we go. There we go. All right. Before Tron Legacy was released, that a sequel was planned and it was being written as screenwriters. It was called Tron Legacy. It was in the early stages of the script for this new film. However, on March 2015, it was revealed that Disney had greenlit a third film. Most of the main cast would return. However, Walt Disney would choose not to continue this third sequel after the box office failure of Tomorrowland.
I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, that was I thought that was a pretty good film. To me, it was pretty good.
I liked it too.
It was a well-made film.
Yes.
I just forgot it existed.
It's got George Clooney in. George Clooney's a good actor.
Have you seen
Lately,
Batman and
I've
Robin?
seen some people who'd fight you over that.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm one way or the other, but
Right.
I've seen a lot of Clooney hate recently.
It happens. Haters gonna hate. Right before Tron, the third Tron was begin production, Disney scrapped the project in 2022 while promoting, of all films, Morpheus. Jared Leto announced that Morbius. Thank you very much.
Morpheus is from The Matrix.
Well, you know what they say. It's Morbin time. I never thought I'd make that joke on this show.
Thank you, people. Good night.
I still haven't made that joke on the power trip. And I've got an entire season and I didn't make that joke. I am disappointed with myself.
I will try to set it up for you. How's that sound?
Are there
I don't
any
know how I'll
vampires
set it up,
in Car
but-
Ranger?
Yes. Surely there's a vampire in Car Ranger somewhere.
I'm sure there is. And don't call me Shirley. Ha ha! Anyway, sequel talk. Morbius. Jared Leto, the worst Joker
Jared Leto
ever.
screwed up Morbius. Continue.
Yes. Jared Leto announced that he was playing Ares, a new character.
Ares.
Ares. I'm sorry. Ares. Ares.
The God of War would not be happy if you got his name wrong.
Apparently. Confirmed the film is still happening on July 23rd. They said a new director is coming, and Gilletto.
Gilletto?
Gilletto?
Where I got Gilletto from?
Does he run Leto?
I think he meant gelato, but said Gilletto because he combined it with Jared Leto. And now I'm just now seeing Morbius as an ice cream guy.
Anyway, yes. So supposedly there's a third film in the
there's
works.
A film in production
But I have
right now.
no.
Yes.
But we don't know who Jared Leto is playing, and we have no idea how connected it's going to be to the previous films. I don't know what to think of that. I'm very mixed on Jared Leto, and
The thing about Jared Leto is, for me, is I know he's played stuff besides Morbius and the Joker, but I couldn't tell you what those things are.
he was a secondary character in Blade Runner 2049. But
That
that's
was a
about
good
all
film,
I've seen
but-
him in.
I know he had other roles. It's just, to me, he's always, it's going to be like when people tell me, what's his name that was Edward in Twilight. I'm always going to see him as that character, even though he was Batman, which technically means a vampire turned into a bat. Anyway. and then he got killed by the 10th Doctor back in the 4th Harry Potter film.
We are nerds.
A little. Oh my god.
Anywho,
Are you done with info and stuff?
Yes, we're done with info
Okay.
and
so
stuff.
now we can get into the summary.
Yes, get into the summary.
All right. In 1989, Kevin Flynn, who has been promoted to CEO of Incom International 7 years earlier, disappears. 20 years later, his son Sam, now Incom's primary shareholder, pranks the corporation by releasing the company's signature operating system online for free. Incom executive Alan Bradley, Flynn's old friend, approves of this, believing it aligns with Flynn's ideals of open software. Nonetheless, Sam is arrested for trespassing. Alan posts bail for Sam and tells him of a pager message originating from Flynn's shuttered video arcade. There, Sam discovers a hidden basement with a large computer and laser, which suddenly digitizes and downloads him into the grid. A virtual
Insert
reality created by
Digimon
Flynn.
joke here.
Yes. Boy, this really does have a lot of connections that
It
last time we
does.
got lost in the grid. Well, not the grid, the digital world, which is a grid.
Baby Don
Anyway.
Don intensifies.
Anywho. Lost my spot. He is captured and sent to the games, where he must fight a masked program named Rensler. When Sam is injured and bleeds, Rensler realizes Sam is human, or a user. He takes Sam to Clue, the grid's corrupt ruling program, who resembles a young Kevin Flynn. Clue nearly kills Sam in a light cycle match, but Sam is rescued by Cora, an apprentice of Flynn, who shows him Flynn's hideout outside Clue's territory. Flynn explains that he has been working to create a perfect computer system and had appointed Clue and security program Tron as its co-creators. The trio discovered a species of naturally occurring isomorphic algorithms, or ISOs, with the potential to resolve various natural mysteries. Clue, considering them an aberration, betrayed Flynn, killing Tron and destroying the ISOs. The portal permitting travel between the two worlds closed, leaving Flynn trapped in the system. Clue sent the message to Alan, hoping to lure him into the grid, though Sam serves his purpose just as well, and reopen the portal for a limited time. Since Flynn's identity disk is the master key to the portal, to the grid. Hang on. Since Flynn's identity disk is the master key to the grid and the only way to traverse the portal, Clue expects Sam to bring Flynn to the portal so he can take Flynn's disk, go through the portal himself, and impose his idea of perfection on the human world. Against his father's wishes, Sam returns to Clue's territory to find Zeus, a program who can provide safe passage to the portal. At the end of Lion Club, the owner reveals himself to be Zeus, then betrays Sam to Clue's guards. In the resulting fight, Flynn rescues his son, but Cora is injured and Zeus gains possession of Flynn's disc. Zeus attempts to bargain with Clue over the disc, but Clue betrays him and destroys the club along with Zeus. Flynn and Sam stow away aboard a Solar Sailor transport program, where Kevin restores Cora and reveals her to be the last surviving ISO. The transport is intercepted by Clue's warship. As a diversion, Cora allows herself to be captured by Rensler, whom Flynn recognizes as Tron, not killed by Clue, but rather reprogrammed. Sam reclaims Flynn's disc and rescues Cora while Flynn takes control of the light fighter. Clue, Rensler, and several guards pursue the trio in light jets. Rensler remembers his past as Tron and deliberately collides with Clue's light jet, then falls into the sea of simulation below. Clue confronts the others at the portal where Flynn reintegrates with his digital duplicate, destroying Clue along with himself. While Cora, having switched discs with Flynn, gives Flynn's disc to Sam and they escape together to the real world as the ensuing explosion levels the sea of simulation. In Flynn's arcade, Sam backs up and deactivates the system. He then tells awaiting Alan that he plans to retake control of Encom, naming Alan chairman of the board. Sam departs on his motorcycle with Cora as she witnesses her first real sunrise.
Ta-da!
Getting into the trivia for this one. The crowd voices during the disc battle in the beginning of the movie are actually the voices of the audience during the panel for the film at the 2010 San Diego Comic-Con.
Yep.
The audience was instructed to stomp and chant to prompts shown on large video screen, and the sound was recorded by text from Skywalker Sound.
If you watch the special features on the Blu-ray, they actually show you them recording that.
Nice.
Cool.
Shooting the film lasted only 64 days. Post-production, due to the heavy special effects, required 68 weeks.
Dang!
Wow.
In an interview, Jeff Bridges noted that as he was being scanned by laser into a computer for the CGI effects, he realized the same thing happened to him fictionally in the original movie.
Deja vu, man.
Early drafts of the script did not feature the role of Alan Bradley. It was only after public outcry by Bruce Boxleitner and fans of the original film that Bradley was added to the script. Boxleitner's performance proved so popular, he went on to make public appearances as Alan Bradley to promote the film, and returned to play the role of Tron in Tron Uprising. The suits worn by the actors proved to be problematic on set. Every single one of them was fitted with a small lithium battery that powered the circuitry for the embedded light strips. But each battery only lasted 12 minutes. In order to maximize the output, the light strips had to be switched on right before each take and turned off immediately afterwards. The circuitries inside the suits were also very fragile, so the actors could not simply sit between takes and had to recline against upright boards.
Oh my gosh.
Wow!
By the way, did you know this was also the most expensive film ever made by a first-time director with a production budget of $170 million?
Wow.
When standing over the board game with black and white stones, Cora mentions to Sam that she rarely beats Flynn at it. The board game is in fact Go, a game that is notoriously difficult for computer programs to play well, unlike chess where computers are able to beat the world's best human players. When the movie was filmed, the best Go computer programs were only able to manage to reach an intermediate amateur level. This explains why Cora, being a computer program from 1989, would rarely be able to beat Kevin Flynn.
I didn't know that. Huh.
The wardrobe budget for this film was $13 million.
What? 13 mil? Wait. Almost 10% of the total budget.
Well, one custom suit alone for the racers cost $60,000.
Jeez. Did someone walk away with one of those suits?
I want one of those suits.
I think so.
You had one of those suits? And you didn't give it to me? Oh, you lost it. Convenient. Yeah.
That really makes me realize we ought to save these that we came back with, Jacob.
Yeah,
We might make some money off
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
I mean, I have a Tron Legacy cosplay, but it's not the same thing.
Right?
And the strips, they don't light up, but if you shine, the right lighting on them, they do glow a little bit. Like put some black lighting on them, they look great.
Right. Kevin Flynn sets down a metallic polyhedron on the fireplace mantle, and later when Clue comes in the house, he picks up the same one. This is a direct homage to Tron, since this is supposed to be Bit, which assisted both the original Clue and Flynn.
Yes. Yes. No.
Yeah. I loved that character, even though he only said two things.
It's like Groot,
Yeah. To play the computer program Clue, Jeff Bridges' face was de-aged with the same technology used on the Curious Case of Benjamin Button in 2008 to age Brad Pitt. Thus, in the role of Flynn, Bridge appears to be his actual age of 61, but as Clue, a program written back in the 1980s, he looks like he's in his 30s, and apparently programs don't age.
We need to talk about that.
Let me just say this before we get into it. I think that de-aging works for Clue, because he's supposed to be a program.
Again,
We'll
talk about that.
Yes, we'll talk about that.
It didn't quite work for the one at the house.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
No, it didn't.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, but also wasn't like the base of his face was based not on his Tron performance, but like a later performance.
It was based on a couple other performances from that same time period, but I did not get those written down.
Right. Well, which I don't know if you guys remember. There's not
at some point
Clue.
I have to start making trivia out.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, Clue was in the original movie, not for very long. It was only a couple of minutes, and I do think he was. I think he was played by Jeff Bridges in that too.
He was played by Jeff Bridges in that too.
Yeah.
But he doesn't last very long, like you said, and this Clue is technically
a different Clue.
So yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think his official name is Clue 2.0.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Unlike most of its contemporaries, the movie was filmed from the outset in 3D, as opposed to being later converted in post-production. The camera equipment used was also a generational step beyond the 3D tech used for Avatar in 2009. Throughout most of the movie, Rensler can be heard making a purring or clicking sound. This is due to his corrupted or changed data. Towards the end of the movie, when Rensler sinks down into the water, his illuminations turn from red to white, and his purring ceases. It's at this point that Rensler's corruption is gone, and he becomes Tron again.
It's like he was. It's like he was baptized. Those audio clips.
Yeah.
I thought that was unique.
Almost like that. Cillian Murphy's character, Edward Dillinger II, is meant to be the son of Edward Dillinger, David Warner, from the first one. The primary antagonist of the first film, who stole credit for creating Kevin Flynn's video games. He appears in only one scene in this movie, however. His uncredited appearance is meant to hint at a possible sequel, which was at one point in the works, but never materialized.
Again, we'll talk about it.
Sequel baiting, love it. There are 3 subtle hints as to Rensler's true identity throughout the film. When Sam fights Rensler in the discourse, Rensler refuses to kill him because he's human. Tron had originally been programmed to fight for the users in the original film. In the flashback sequence depicting Clue's coup against Flynn, when Tron fights off the guards, he's seen using 2 identity discs. Rensler's costume bears 4 red squares in a T shape on his chest, identical to Tron's own chest emblem as seen in the first film and flashback sequences.
And
lastly,
I was just gonna say, I think Bruce Boxleitner does the voice too. He doesn't talk much.
Yeah,
he does.
Well, as he doesn't talk much as Rensler.
That's what I mean. He doesn't talk much as Rensler, and they work really hard to reverb his voice so that you can't quite tell it's him.
And it's only like maybe 1 or 2 lines, and they're very short lines because of the corrupted data, I suspect. Flynn explains to his son the true intention of Clue is to lure him to get the disc. When he says, the only way to win is not to play, they are referencing 1983's War Games.
Oh!
I love that movie.
That was a good movie.
Which is the end of what I got for trivia. Nathan, what is your first like for this film?
Okay. It's not the first one that came to my mind, but I have a feeling it will still get brought up. but I want to talk about the 3D in this. I know, Drew, you said you were not that impressed with the 3D. I am.
Bear in mind, I was basing that off of 13-year-old memories.
True,
and so I could be forgetting what it looked like at the time, but I think I may have. I think this was during when I saw it. It was during some of the scenes there in the hideout.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin's hideout there in the middle of the film, so maybe there wasn't much to see there in 3D in the first place.
True, but here's why I want to bring it up. 3D, basically since its inception, has been basically just a gimmick. And in modern 3D, which thankfully is no longer a trend, it was this post-production add-on so that they could basically charge you an extra $2 to see the movie, and it didn't really do anything. If you watch the Clash of the Titans remake, it's notoriously bad in 3D. Here's why.
The worst 3D I saw, but anyway.
Yeah. Now I get it that Avatar used it very well, in terms of what 3D is supposed to actually do. But I would argue that Tron Legacy has the most creative use of 3D of honestly, any 3D movie that I've ever seen. I liken it. I know people are going to be crazy, think I'm crazy when I say this. I liken it to the use of color in The Wizard of Oz. Hear me out here.
Okay. I think I know where you're going with this, and I'm going to go talking about it in a second.
Okay, because The Wizard of Oz is in sepia tone when we're in Kansas, and then the color, the very vibrant color, comes in once Dorothy gets to Oz. In Tron Legacy, the 3D, it does not exist. It's not used in the real world scenes. It's only when we're in the grid. And I saw this movie
Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
What?
Just like in Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And Shark Boy and Lava Girl in 3D.
Never mind. I never saw those, so I didn't know that they did that. I'm just
giving you a hard time because that was the first. That's how I connected, because this is I know it's not the same director.
Yeah.
And the same thought process.
That was Robert Rodriguez.
In that mini trilogy in my mind.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
But anyway, I'm just saying. And there was actually in the theater when I saw it, because I saw it in 3D, it actually had a disclaimer that came up that said, hey, there are going to be parts of this movie that are not in 3D. That's okay. Don't freak out. And then once Sam gets hit with the digitizing laser, 3D kicks in. But then when he leaves at the end of the movie, the 3D is gone. I think that's brilliant because it actually makes sense. When you're going from the real world to the digital world, put the 3D in to create an extra a visual difference, a subtle one, but a visual difference, and to help with the immersion, which is why I'm frustrated. I don't have a 3D TV, so I can't relive that. Because when I watch it without 3D, it feels like a little something's missing.
I get that. I will say, at least with because my biggest issue with most 3D films, even when they're post-production 3D, they do the whole 3D gimmick of making things come out towards you, and it's very obvious even when you watch it in 2D that doesn't quite work.
I don't feel like that.
Never really did that.
Yeah, this one doesn't really do that. There are things that like there's stuff that flies at the screen, but not in that very obviously gimmicky, like woo, like that. Woo.
Yeah,
they don't do that. But I can tell you that there are certain shots, like when the slow-mo shots, slow-mo close-up shots of the light cycles, those look great in 3D.
Oh yeah, I remember that looking good. And like I said, when I said I couldn't see much of a difference, I'm fairly certain it was in one of the scenes where it really wasn't being used that much, even though it would have technically been there. It's just, I remember it being, I don't know if this is worth, for me personally, I don't know if it was worth the extra $2 or $3.
Right. I understand that. I just think that it was such a creative use of 3D at a time when 3D was just a cheap money-making gimmick.
Right. I don't know if at this point it was really a cheap money-making gimmick, because I think there was still a lot of push for it at this point. It's not till like much later, where they were always doing post-production, it became the gimmick.
Yeah, it was 2013, 2014.
In 2012.
Oh, okay.
But either way.
Either or.
Yes.
All right. Jacob, what's your first like?
My first like is the spectacular world design.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way they took the initial design of the world of the grid or Tron or whatever we'll call it, and just the grid, of course. I automatically think
Tron is a person.
I know Tron is a person. I know that.
We were not.
Or maybe he
Tron.
was referencing the original movie.
Yes.
Oh, that could be
Yes.
it too.
Thank you, Nate.
You're welcome. I got your back.
Thank you. But in this movie, how they explain everything and how the general design of the grid as a world is very fascinating because they're so multi-layered in like design work, and they're using all like light reflections and straight lines and a grid pattern for everything, but making it a real city. And it's spectacular to look like Nate said about the idea of going into Oz, because you're going into like a digital Oz, and it has this like breathtaking scape and scope of how they're using like depth of field and the whole bit with how everything in this movie just looks breathtaking. Definitely when you're in the grid, and like you said before with the
3D.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my words. Like going back to the Wizard of Oz, how everything's kind of done in a sepia tone, where in the real world everything's kind of toned down the whole bit, where you get into
It's gray.
gray. There we go, gray. Okay, everything's got a gray tone to it, and then you get into the grid. Everything is bright and blue and colorful. It's popping to you, and I just really enjoy that because that. Like you said before, the idea that it's got this parallel between the Wizard of Oz, and I really, really enjoy the film.
Yeah, and actually, and it just dawned on me, the only real bright colors that I can remember before we get to the grid is the NCOM sign, because it looks like neon.
Yes. Agreed.
And actually, what you're bringing up makes sense, Jacob. For what I remember of the special features on the Blu-ray, the director actually had a background in architecture. You can tell. And one of the things I love about this is that this movie actually just takes time to just let you soak in the world, just be in the world. And that it means using Sam as a POV character, you're thrown in with him and you don't get told anything about the world. It's like, here is the world. You're gonna figure things out at the same time as Sam. So, and you're going to be a little bit confused and you may not know exactly what's going on, but welcome to the grid. I love it. I wish there were more. I wish there were. I've been watching, and we didn't do the what have you been watching? And one of the things that I've been watching has been the new Trigun. Trigun Stampede. And I have opinions. One of the things that I haven't enjoyed as much is I don't feel like I get to soak in the world as much as I did in the original anime. But I'll leave it at that.
I just double checked. I don't have the Trigun sound on my board anymore. No, anyway,
sad.
But
womp, womp.
Getting back to my I liked my first like for this is essentially the updated version of coming into the world for the first time, because Sam's entrance to this world is very much like Kevin's was back in the first film.
Agreed.
But it's yet different. I mean, you've got, of course, like the newer systems because it's upgraded. You've got the he doesn't have the suit at the beginning like Kevin does. He gets it from these 4 really creepy girls putting it on him after they take off his clothes.
Such an interesting scene.
Right. And I think I read somewhere else in the trivia, though I didn't end up not using it, that was all kind of like the last minute.
That makes sense.
And
Let's make this really awkward.
Yeah. And and then he plays the games, and of course the games are different than the original ones, because in the first one you had Discs of Tron, which is in this one Grid Battle. Is that what they called it?
Disc Wars.
Disc Wars.
Thank
yes.
you, Disc Wars.
It's essentially the same game, but in 3D. Yeah, it looks cooler in this version in many ways than it did in the other.
And they got rid of the I forget, there's a name for it, but that weirdo like scoop ball.
Yes,
sport.
the what do you call that? Lacrosse, the lacrosse scoop thing.
Yeah, which I
it's not
remember,
lacrosse,
which I remember hearing as a kid. That sport actually holds the record for the fastest balls, because
fastest pitch.
Basically they can throw a ball faster than any other sport.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but then you get the light cycles, which I remember when I first watched this, I was disappointed that they weren't stuck on lines like in the first one. But when I watched it this time, it's like, okay, this is just cool to watch, period. I was
going to say, it's the light cycle
game.
It's the light cycle game, but in 3D. Because in that one, you could...
It's the difference between Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64.
I guess. But no, because in the original, it was... you could move left, right, up, down. That was it's like the original game. Because if you play the original Tron arcade game, it was actually a collection of games. And one of them was the light cycle thing. But this one, it's like going from regular chess to 3D chess. I think that might be a better way to describe it, because now it's the same thing, same concept, but now you're moving in all kinds of different directions. You're going up and down and
But I mean, you actually get like 360-degree movement in this new one, whereas before you only had 90-degree movement. It was literally you take a left, you immediately take a left. And this, no, you get a full arc. So that does change how things go. It still looked cool. And of course, it even ends the same way with them breaking out. Of course, this required Cora to come in with her giant ATV that somehow can work off the grid. I still don't think we got a good explanation why hers could work off the grid and their bikes couldn't. But you know what? I really don't care.
It's okay that we don't know. We don't need to know everything.
We don't need to know everything, but that was one of the first things that popped in my eyes. Like, you answered this question. I don't think it was a good enough answer. But anyway, I enjoyed the fact that they took these moments that were similar and served the same purpose and used that to integrate us into this new world. Because this grid is different from the old grid.
It is.
You have to be introduced almost in the same manner to see what the differences actually are.
Right.
Which I think might have thrown me off originally, because in my mind, I was thinking this was going to be the same grid from the first movie, just looking different.
Right.
And it's not.
Right. This is how you use nostalgia bits and use them well.
Yeah.
Because if you've heard me, I said this on the Megaforce episode of the Power Trip, fight me, Michael, fight me. But if you're going to use nostalgia, you have to either make it the garnish or you got to make it meaningful and important. And unfortunately, not everyone's figured out how to do that.
Ironically, the source footage for Megaforce knew how to do that pretty well, but that's beside the point. What's your second like, Nathan?
I'm surprised you guys didn't bring it up, so I'm going to bring it up because I feel like it's the most obvious thing to talk about. The Mother Trucking soundtrack.
Look, in my defense, I'm not a big techno person.
I don't care. This is what, in a time when
I'm not saying
when movie soundtracks, at least coming out of Hollywood, are as utilitarian as you can get.
Fair.
This is one of the best film soundtracks of the last 15 to 20 years coming out of Hollywood. The other really good one is Pacific Rim, because both of these are incredibly memorable. Most other modern film soundtracks are, like I said, they're mostly utilitarian. There's almost nothing that stands out. The MCU is particularly infamous for this, because the MCU has only had a couple of memorable themes, one of which is the Avengers theme, obviously. But you look at Tron Legacy, you look at Pacific Rim, you can hum the themes, you can remember every piece of music that comes from, especially in this one. I have the complete soundtrack for this, and I used to listen to it constantly when I was writing. I love this soundtrack. It sounds great, even out of context. And it really showed that Daft Punk were not just a pair of French DJs. They knew how to make music, and they actually, it's not all techno. There's plenty of orchestral in this, but my favorite tracks in this are when they integrate the two, and it is absolutely brilliant when you hear it. I don't know why this didn't get award nominations. Like, I wish they had gotten an Oscar for this because it's just so brilliant.
It didn't get award nominations because it was a pop film, not an art film.
Whatever.
I'm not saying I agree with the statement.
Well, no one cares about the Oscars anyway, unless they think
thank you
somebody's gonna slap somebody.
And we're all waiting to see who gets slapped this year.
I hope that's a joke. Actually, I want
my gosh,
I
yes.
want every person who gets an award to get slapped right when they
like a hand slap or something like
right.
that.
Jacob, what's your second?
Oh my gosh, yes, I would. Tron's Redemption. I love this part of the movie because there again, going back to the first one, and then you get the be like Tron is mentioned throughout the beginning in the film, and we see the flashback of what happened to Tron as a character, and then we get, how do you pronounce his name? Rinsler is our first antagonist that young Flynn has to face, and how the ambiance of his character, the purring sound, the gravel and a little bit, makes a really menacing character, but it gives you that kind of like that subtle clue. Something's a little different about this
clue.
Yeah,
a clue. Right. But it is just how they set this character up, how they set him up in like eventually throughout the course of the film. It's not like in some films be like, oh, obviously he's a former hero. Be like, no, they set up very well, and like how
you're hinting towards one of my dislikes, but we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. But I really enjoy that Tron or Rinsler. Okay.
Not Rizzler. This is not like the rap version of the Riddler.
I thought that was the RZA.
Rizzle me this, Batman.
But Tron's redemption, his story throughout the entire movie, that be like, obviously he didn't kill young Flynn when he noticed that he was a human, and kind of going back to his programming, which was there, he's corrupted in the whole bit.
Right.
And I just really enjoy that point where be like, towards the climax of the scene where Rinsler, thank you.
You could just say Evil Tron. We'll know
I'm
who
not
you're
gonna
talking
say
about.
Rinsler.
Tron.
Rinsler is, following his program, Q. Yeah, Q, right?
Clue.
Thank you.
Q is Star Trek.
Yes, thank you.
And James Bond.
No, Q's James Bond.
Oh, brother.
You've not met Q because you haven't watched most of the show.
No, I haven't.
Star Trek. You've only watched the movies, and he's never shown up in a movie.
I've actually watched the first episode of Star Trek.
You never told me you watched Encounter at Farpoint.
Yes.
Okay.
Fun fact, I have a patron who wants to sponsor that on the Film Vault because it technically has kaiju.
I at the last minute, maybe. I mean, granted, technically, yes, the one on the planet is there the whole time, but
anyway, Tron Legacy.
Now I want to listen to that episode.
It won't happen for a while. But
oh my gosh. Tron's redemption is where he's being told to be like, shoot him down, but his program finally comes back to him, and he uses
the classic Tron line.
Yeah, he uses the traffic. Yes.
I fight for the users.
And it's such it's a wonderful moment where he literally sacrifices his life in order to save the Flynns.
Right. I don't think he's dead.
Of course not. Not if you're going to have a third movie named after him.
Right.
But the interesting thing is that his corruption is actually something that is developed in Uprising, because the premise of Uprising is there's this young program that he takes under his wing because he wants to train him as the new Tron. And he tells him it's because I can't remember exactly how he put it, but he's basically sick. The implication being that it's some sort of corrupting virus that is preventing him from being the security program. So I think the idea was that this was what was eventually going to turn him into Rinsler.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, that's my second like, just Tron's redemption.
My second like for this, I think, is just the general vibe of the entire film, because this really does feel like an 80s style action movie.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Time when we really were not getting things like that.
Right.
It just had this nice, it felt like it was nostalgia. Obviously there was a big burst of that in there, but it's just this general, there was a lot of times where I'm sitting there going, is that what I think? Oh, that is the Solar Sailor. That's cool. Actually, it's a train, but it looks like the Solar Sailor, so I'll take it.
Right.
Oh, look, it's the little, they're not tanks, whatever you call the flying tank things.
Recognizers.
The recognizers. Those look cool. There's all these little nice cool things, but it felt like there was just enough of that 80s mentality.
Right.
That mixed with like modern graphics and modern CG animation stuff, just was like, oh, why can't they make more stuff like this?
Right. I think we
found out why it doesn't make as much money as Disney would like.
Yeah. Well, and you also had the inclusion of 2 popular 80s songs in it as well with the soundtrack, which I think supplements it very well. And I think the most obvious one is Separate Ways by Journey. And I feel like that was actually used very smartly. If you watch that, talk about, not only does it create an 80s atmosphere, but I think it works thematically, because what's that song about? It's about 2 lovers who are, basically breaking up. But, in this context, it's about Sam trying to find his dad and reconnect with his dad. And, and it's when he goes into the arcade, he turns on the arcade, Flynn's arcade,
Yeah.
And, his dad's old business. And, so he's trying to reconnect with his dad and, going through seeing all of this old stuff that his dad used to do all the time. And it ends with him finding out that there's a secret passage behind the Tron arcade machine, and that leads him to the digitizing laser. So I mean, I think it's used very well, and it's just a great song. I mean, it's one of my favorite Journey songs, so you can't go wrong there.
Well, unfortunately, we do have to talk about what went wrong with this film, because not everything can be just ones. You got to have your zeros in there too.
Yeah.
So, Nathan, what was one of your dislikes?
Okay, we've already hinted at it. We need to talk about it. The de-aging technology in this. Valley.
Yeah, it's bad here.
Okay.
They did not have the deep fakes ready for this.
They didn't. And honestly, I mean, I give them credit for even trying it. It had to be done. Because it's used a lot now. It's better now, but I don't think it's still quite to the point where it's entirely believable. So it had to start somewhere. They used it to age up somebody, as you pointed out. So this one, they're trying to de-age somebody with it. Now, I put a little bit of an asterisk next to this, because I think it's fine for Clue, because Clue is supposed to be an avatar anyway. So if he looks a little bit digital, I'm cool with that. The issue is when they use it for young Flynn at the beginning of the movie and in the flashbacks. They should have just used clever camera angles and just never shown his face, because it looks
I get what
really
you're saying.
weird.
I get what you're saying. I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. Granted, we're still limited by the technology, which is the biggest issue, but a modern audience who maybe has not seen the original film, it doesn't hurt to show what he possibly looked like at that time period. It would have been better if you just had a photo that you saw.
I was going to say, you can
that showed you what you look like, so that when we do actually see Clue, it's like, oh, it's Kevin. Are we supposed to think he's the villain here? I didn't, but
right. So I think it was a mistake to use it for young Kevin. It was fine for Clue. And but it did allow them, I will say this, even though I'm saying it didn't work for young Kevin Flynn, it did allow them to have Jeff Bridges play 2 different characters and be able to play his original character back in the 80s. and and then also to play Clue and then be able to use the same actor, because that's what this technology allows you to do. It allows you to use the same actor and not just have to recast them necessarily. In some cases, recasting is advisable, but
it worked for Lindsay Lohan, so
The Parent Trap
in the new version of the Parent Trap,
98,
okay.
and the original version of the Parent Trap. I just can't remember that actress's name.
Oh,
Gotcha. So yeah.
But anyway,
So gotcha. So it doesn't look that part. Pardon the pun. It hasn't aged well. So
I'll grant you that one. Jacob, what's your first dislike?
my first dislike is wooden performance.
by who?
Who's
As in
wooden performance?
Garrett Hyderlin? I'm probably butchering the man's name. I apologize. The guy who played Sam.
Oh,
that guy.
I wasn't that
Yeah.
I wasn't that bothered by him.
That didn't mess with me too much because he was supposed to be playing was it a disaffected,
Yeah.
whatever the word is, a
Yeah.
disaffected teenager.
Yeah, just like teaser. I'd be like, I understand that.
He's not a
Up to being
teenager.
a Power Ranger, so
I get it. It's just like a lot.
I know
of his-
he's not actually a teenager, but he acts like the stereotype of a teenager.
Yeah, but most of his lines were very wooden performance. I'm not saying like all of his performance was bad, but there was a lot of like his execution was kind of wooden, and like just kind of like dry wooden performance in a lot of the scenes. Not saying like his performance was bad overall. I'm just saying, just pointing out in portions of the film, be like where his performance just is kind of wooden. There's not a real like depth of emotion going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob, watch
Yes.
Megaforce and tell me if you don't change your mind about this kid.
He's mainly suggesting look at the Red Ranger.
I've seen that performance. Yeah, I've seen those Neo Saban era performances, and some of them it's like good night. I agree. Those are wooden. Those are extremely wooden. Like his performance in this movie, be like it's good, but there's certain parts where it is just kind of it's wooden and flat.
I feel
But-
like it's a little bit of like, it seems to be a little bit of a style of acting and some Hollywood blockbusters. Because
Yeah.
who was the guy?
Especially around this time.
Yeah,
'cause
especially
the guy
around
who
this
played-
time. Who was
The guy who played Edward in Twilight, I can't think of his name.
right?
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, thank you.
And then
Robert
what was
Pattinson
it?
and Kristen Stewart at the time
Right.
had
And
this
oh my
almost
gosh.
no emotion acting that was
right. And what
popular
was the
for that
name?
age
What
group.
was? Dang it! What was the name of the guy who was in Clash of the Titans? He was in, and he was in Avatar.
Oh,
I know who you're talking
yes.
about.
Oh my gosh. I see your point. I do see your point. Yes.
He was
Right.
in the new Avatar. He was in
Yeah.
Way of Water because he's playing the same character.
Right.
Uh,
I just can't
The
remember his
CG
name.
version
now.
of the character, but still.
I just
Either
can't
way.
remember his name now, because he's the same way.
Yeah.
Sam Worthington. Sam Worthington.
Sam Worthington.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Worthington. He's the same way, and to a certain extent, Aaron Taylor Thomas is the same way.
I guess it's that era of acting.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, because
Fair.
the main character there in 2014 Godzilla is the same problem. I think.
Yeah,
in many ways.
except
can't
I
of
think
his
in
name.
that it's by design with the character because he's supposed to be military and very disciplined.
True, but I would have liked some emotion out of the guy
I mean, he did cry once,
once.
but
But anyway,
Right. That was my first, just like more nitpick, but nuance.
if we're talking about nitpicks, this computer system is supposed to be 5 years advanced from the original Tron, or 7 years?
I think at
89
least
versus
7.
83?
At least 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this system, I'm assuming this is a top of the line mainframe from this time period.
Okay.
That has been left running, and no one's noted the power bill. That's an issue, but that's not one I was going to bring up. No, it's like the big thing about this is that this program somehow generated these living computer programs called ISOs. This movie was made in released in what, 2011?
2010.
2010.
20 years later after the system come out. You tell me I've got little besides DLIT, because DLIT's awesome, but I've got other these little living computer programs in my computer right now, because they're far more powerful than that mainframe was. My phone is more powerful than that mainframe was.
I think the idea...
My watch is more powerful than that mainframe was, and it's not a smartwatch.
I think the idea was that they were just a complete and utter fluke. They were a miracle. They really shouldn't exist.
That's how he describes it as a miracle.
I get that, but there's still a part of me that's going, statistically, all the computers in the world, somewhere there has to be more of those things. Granted, no one else has the ability to go in their computer and look at them like he does, but still, it's like it was one of those moments about when they brought that on, and I was reminded of that Bruce Wayne quote from Batman Forever. It just raises too many questions. Because that's just the thought process that went to my mind. It was enough I had to stop and pause and process for a second before I could get back to the movie. It's a minor thing. It's a nitpick. It does not matter in the grand scheme of things. I get that. But it's just like, I know when they made the first film, this was a very computers equal magic sort of thing, but we are not in that world anymore.
We're no longer in Kansas.
Pretty much. But, like I said, it's a nitpick. It's just, I like that they stuck with the consistency. It's just, it's a little harder for me to take now. Outside of as a current computer-based film, as opposed to a computer-based film from the past. Either way.
Right.
Nathan, what's your second dislike?
I'm actually going to go with what I think is the biggest of the other dislikes I have, and not just nitpicks. And that is and this may be retroactively rendered pointless later, but all of the dangling threads that we may or may not ever see get resolved in a sequel, because there's a lot of them, because you had Dillinger's son, the ISOs in the human world, what's going to become of Sam now that he's in charge of NCOM. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Obviously, he's going to introduce the N pod so that later they can make the N phone, because this kid is very obviously Steve Jobs.
Right. And, and then stuff
after he worked for Ixar for a while.
Yeah. And then stuff like, what happened to Tron? Could his dad possibly still be alive? I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that you could play with, and some questions that still need to be answered. And they had every intention of doing it because they were trying to set up threads that they could use for sequels while still remaining focused on the story that they're trying to tell right there in that movie. That's an art we forgot how to do in Hollywood. But so I'm frustrated by the fact that we may not ever get to see resolution to any of that. I don't know what's going to happen with Ares. I don't even know if it's going to get made. And if it gets made, what it's going to be about. So
who knows?
Yeah.
Jacob, what's your second dislike?
My second dislike. Now, this is a nitpick, and I understand that the original Tron came out in 1982 and did not do well in the box office. It was a failure and became
a cult classic.
Yeah, it became a cult classic after that. But
and this film kind of did the same thing.
Yeah, agreed.
But a lot faster.
Yeah.
It was a cult classic while it was still in theaters.
Didn't think about that. But it's like you had a movie that came out in 82. This movie came out in 2010. So you have a time gap of 28 years. Now, granted, that's not the longest gap between film productions. I think it was like the longest is, I think it's the original Bambi, which came out in the 40s, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you have Bambi 2, which came out in 2000.
But that was wasn't that straight to DVD?
It was.
Yes, but it is a sequel.
And it was Disney Toon.
That is true.
Which I almost don't want to count it for that.
Okay. Okay. And then you use another one. Like the same director who directed this film. He also directed Top Gun Maverick.
Fair.
which came out in 85. This came out in 2022. So you have a 30-year gap. So be like the idea of Top Gun Maverick, very popular at its time when it was in theaters and afterwards, grabbed the cultural zeitgeist. And so the second one comes out, big blockbuster. You have Tron, didn't do well in theaters, cult classic for many years. Disney didn't want to touch it for almost 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally create a second one 26 years later, and you have a similar effect with Tron Legacy. Tron Legacy is a good movie, but it didn't do great in movies in the theaters. So I think if they would have done Tron Legacy in the 90s, like maybe it would have, because it's so far removed from the time period in which the original was made. I don't know, maybe a little too late. Maybe a little too early when they came out.
Two things about that.
One, they would not have been able to. It would not have looked as good.
It would not have, but that's actually not what I was going to bring up. First, I think somebody had been trying to get a sequel to Tron made for years.
Oh,
yeah,
and it just took them all the way until the late 2000s to make it happen. So somebody was trying to do it.
The original Tron was in the Disney vault for like ever, and like the only way it came out on a DVD like once, like early on, and then it took another 10 years for it to come back out on DVD.
Yeah, agreed.
For this movie.
Yeah, for this movie. So it's like not many people there were people who had nostalgia, but it was nostalgia based on some memories they had from years back. It wasn't like something they go, "Oh, I love this movie. I watch it every 5 years."
That's true.
Right.
So,
right now, I will say this: you guys have talked about the "quote unquote" dark age of Disney. Tron Legacy. Oh, no, excuse me, not Tron Legacy. The original Tron is about the only movie from that time period that has been truly popular in any sense. The rest of them
up until you get to Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Well, no. I'm talking like 75 to 85. That's what I consider the dark period. It ended with the Black Cauldron, and basically anything they were making was very experimental, and most of them aren't really that well known. A couple of them managed to get to cult classic status, but most of them, other than Tron, have not really gotten the star treatment. Other than maybe like the Black Hole, but that's only because it was Disney making Star Wars before Disney owned Star Wars. But
hey, and you laugh, but when I saw the Black Hole as a kid and was convinced it was a prequel movie to Star Trek: The Motion Picture,
that would actually make
for a long time.
That would actually make some sort of weird sense. But
it was one of those that I had not, even though at a much later age, having not seen the Black Hole in a while, I knew it wasn't. But I got to rewatch it on Disney Plus and go, why on earth did I think this was a prequel?
Right. But anyway, all of that to say, there was interest in making a sequel. It just took forever to do it.
Agreed.
And then my second response to what you said, Jacob, was the reason why you had a bigger gap, but very different results with the box office is because Top Gun was already a pop culture icon.
Agreed.
So people who liked the original movie were
Yeah.
going to see it because
Of course.
they liked the original movie, and then that movie was actually good, and it was coming out at a time where people were like, there's nothing good to see in the theater except Top Gun Maverick. So
Well, and it also does not hurt Top Gun to be a movie that's been high in the cultural zeitgeist for years.
Yes.
B, stars Tom Cruise in both versions, which, as much as I hate to admit it, he is a force to be reckoned with anytime he's on screen.
He's one of the last few true movie
True.
stars left in in Hollywood right now. Like there are
And
not
yet
very many people in Hollywood where you say this guy's in a movie, this person's in a movie. People are going to go see it regardless.
And yet I see his name and go, maybe I'll skip that one because I don't really like Tom Cruise.
We're not
That's
talking
just-
about you, Drew.
I know, I'm weird. But and Jeff Bridges was a rising name again at this time.
Yes,
it
This
was.
is like not far from True Grit.
True.
So
Very true.
He was big, and of course the dude. from.
I feel like Kevin Flynn turned into the dude.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
in the
he
30
very much
years.
did. It felt like he was playing the same character. You just half expected to see him bowling in that world. Actually, I half expected him to be playing Wii bowling somehow.
Actually, well, I'm trying to remember what was that line when they were on the Solar Sailors, like I'm gonna go knock on the sky and listen for the sound. I mean, that sounds like a very dude thing to say.
Oh yeah, you could tell he'd been drinking the Zen juice for a while.
You're messing with my Zen thing, man.
Yeah.
Which I think actually is a nice contrast with Sam, because Sam is very much a daredevil. So
right,
it's a nice contrast between the two of them. Because I love this is like, if we were doing more likes, I just want to say I love the father-son story in this. It's a story that's very powerful. Sometimes I think it's powerful for all the wrong reasons, because not enough people have good fathers in their lives. But if you look at some of the highest rated movies on IMDb, at least this is what I was told back when I was taking screenwriting classes, a lot of them are father-son stories.
So anyway, my last dislike, I saved this one.
Oh no,
I think it might be a little more controversial.
Oh no, incoming hot take. You ready for this, Jimmy?
First off,
brace for impact.
First off, I need to know, was I the only person who didn't immediately realize that Rensler was Tron as soon as he showed up on screen? Was I the only person who recognized this?
Thinking back on when I saw the movie the first time, I don't remember if I thought he was Tron immediately. I do know before it was revealed, I think I had figured it out.
I figured it out as soon as he went up against Sam in that first fight, because immediately I saw the little cubes here in the T shape, and I immediately went, "Oh no, that's Tron. Why is he evil? Why are we making the main good guy a villain again? You did this in Mission Impossible. Why are we doing this again?" That did admittedly put a bad taste in my mouth at the beginning, but it occurred to me that's like, Tron is barely in this movie as a character.
Yes,
I did actually have that written down as another possible dislike. The title character is and isn't in this movie much.
Yeah, Rensler, because he's Rensler throughout most of the movie, and for all intents and purposes, that's a separate character from Tron, because he's got entirely different character developments, entirely different motivations. It's not till, he gets baptized in the digital water that somehow causes him to get a restore. I still don't know what actually happened there.
Well, you could say that he died, but it's just like turning your computer on and off,
Pretty much.
You got a nice reboot.
Right, and because the minute and the thing is, as soon as I recognized that was Tron, I knew how the rest of his journey was going to go throughout the rest of the film, and it was just a matter of waiting for certain plot points to happen. I'm going to call that being genre savvy, because I've seen this form of redemption arc so many times.
Yeah,
it's the Darth Vader arc when you get right down to it.
Yeah. You can see that.
And as a person who is a sucker for good redemption stories, Tron's isn't one.
Okay, then.
It's a redemption story. It's just not a very good one, because even for the Darth Vader archetype redemption story, it doesn't even do that one that good, because we never really get to know who this Rensler is, other than he's a mindless killer of whoever Clue sicks him on.
Which I think was the whole point. He was just a very powerful, loyal minion. That's all he was to Clue.
And
agreed.
And
it's supposed to be like, look at Tron, this really cool character from the first movie, and now we have reduced him to this.
Right, but that still doesn't help me connect with that character very much, because now it's like, oh, you changed it makes if you're going to do this, I've got to be able to connect with that character in that state. And I never connected with Rensler at all. when you look at Darth Vader, believe it or not, I can actually connect with Darth Vader. So that when you get to Return of the Jedi and he's going through that redemption arc, I actually feel good for the guy. This was, I'm sitting there going, oh, he's good now. I didn't see that coming from a mile away.
Yeah, but Darth Vader got 3 movies.
I know.
True.
I know.
He got 1.
But I've seen so many other things where it just had even like 30 minutes, and I already connected with a redemption arc for a character much faster than this.
You didn't think Rensler was all that cool?
I didn't think Rensler was cool at all. I just thought it was like, oh, he's anti-Tron. Wow.
I guess that's the difference.
Character.
I didn't immediately figure it out, and I thought he was really cool. So
I guess because like I said, I immediately figured it out. So it's like, yeah, I'm not surprised he's that good at the games. I'm not surprised he's this good at racing in the bikes. I'm not surprised he didn't kill Sam when he saw blood and immediately saw he was a user. None of this was a surprise to me, so I was never asking myself what's going on with this guy, so that when you finally get to the point where it starts becoming painfully obvious he's Tron, before they reveal, I'm sitting there going, yes, I've been here for half an hour, guys. You're not helping your case any. And I grant this could be a me thing. If you did not catch early on immediately that was Tron, I get it. I can see how you worked with it more, but I was already 30 minutes past that in the journey by the where the movie was, and it was like, just hurry up and redeem him so we can move on. It was kind of a feeling, it felt a little bit better in this movie because now I'm watching all the other people. I'm not so worried the fact that, guys, I already know this. I don't care about I'm more interested about all the other secrets. It's like, okay, I know all the other secrets too now, so I can now experience the movie as the journey it's supposed to be. But it's like in that first moment, it's like, I get it. Move on. How does nobody else in this world recognize that Rensler is Tron? Jeff Bridges should have figured this out by now. That's the real Jeff Bridges, not the Clue Jeff Bridges.
Well,
in
Kevin Flynn's defense, he spent most of his time away from there.
That is true.
I get it, but he should have seen like video or something.
Well, he also, as soon as he saw Rensler, he's like, Tron. And I'm like, that's how we're going to handle the big plot twist?
Yeah, that was like, okay.
That's a little underwhelming. And I remember even the first time I saw it, I'm like, yeah, I by that, well before that point, I had figured it out. I think I probably started piecing it together after the flashback. Because I'm like, we didn't actually see Tron de-res. So I bet he's not dead. He's that Rensler guy, isn't he? And
it's the only person it can be.
Yeah.
It's the only person whose face we never see.
True.
Right.
Ever see. We don't even get him as Tron. Are you telling me Alan Bradley, Bruce Boxleitner wouldn't have gotten his face scanned just like Kevin Flynn did?
He did in the flashbacks.
Yes, but not for the movie.
Oh, well.
Jeff Bridges would have gotten it. Did it? Why couldn't you do it for this?
It's because we didn't flash back to young Alan in the 80s.
I'm just saying, I would have maybe thought that reveal was cooler if the helmet got knocked off and we see young Bruce Boxleitner's face say, "He'd be the one that says, I
fight for the users.
I fight for the users." I'd go, okay, I'm feeling this now, but I was like, no, this is like Darth Vader saying, "No!" as he throws the guy throws a Palpatine.
That was added later, sir.
Oh my god!
I know, but it's just as stupid.
You're making Jimmy angry.
Jimmy, I'm on your side. I'm saying this is just as stupid as that. What'd he say?
He's talking to you, man.
I don't know what to tell you, Jimmy. I'm just saying, this is just my opinion. I don't like those changes in Empire in Return of the Jedi or New Hope. I've like one or two in Empire, but that's just personal opinion.
Yeah,
and we're not here to talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, just don't get him started on the prequels. He will rant master all day. Trust me, I've heard it.
I will try not to bring up sand. Anyway.
I see he's already starting. All right. You need to stop. Just shut up, Jimmy. Shut up. Anyway.
Of course, it's rough. It gets everywhere.
Yeah, we know. We know.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Do we have anything? Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's everything. We've all done two.
I was about to ask if we had anything else to touch on before we jump into our ratings.
I'm looking at just a handful of notes that I took on there, but we talked about most of them already. So
yeah.
Well, the only one I could think of, kind of like as a bonus, Michael Sheen's performance as Zeus.
Oh yeah.
I wanted more of that guy.
Yes,
I wanted
thank
more
you.
of that character. And
Yes,
the
he's
first
in the
time I
movie too
saw
little.
the movie, I didn't know who Michael Sheen was. And for a hot minute, I remember my friend, when I saw it with him, I leaned over and I said, "Is that David Bowie?" And I wanted it to be David Bowie so bad.
So I when I watch movies at home now, I usually watch with the subtitles on just out of habit. And I found it interesting that Zeus's character's name is spelled incredibly close to Zune
It is.
for the old player. And I'm sitting there going, with Sam Flynn being essentially Steve Jobs. And I didn't catch this at the time. It's like, that makes sense that they're antagonistic. One's Bill Gates, one's Steve Jobs.
Right. But Zeus was such a good character. Michael Sheen just hits it out of the park.
Mhm.
That's one of those characters I remember when I was taking writing classes, and they said, you said, write every single character in your story, even the secondary characters, like they write them as if they think they're the main character, to make them that much more memorable. And you combine some really solid writing with just a wonderful showman of a performer with Michael Sheen. And
Yeah.
like every scene that Zeus is in, just the character just jumps off the screen, and I love it. And I wanted more. That's why my fan theory is that him and Jem got out of the building before it blew up, because I refused to let them be dead.
Right. But yeah, he is definitely eating the scenery and
chewing it up.
the whole thing, almost as much as Paul Freeman in MMPR the movie.
Libations for everyone.
I'm so powerful in this movie, I hired the film's composers to DJ on a random night.
No, Jimmy, I have never, ever gone to Nessie's Brasserie and said that randomly. No. Come on, trying to sully my name over here, okay? You're the one who gets drunk all the time. Sheesh.
Anyway. Shall we go ahead and jump into the ratings for this?
Yes.
Nathan, what are you rating this on a scale of 0.0 to 10?
No, it was 0.0 to 10. I was about to ask what the rating scale was.
You go to 0.0 to 0.5, so on and so forth.
I know. It's because I listened to Leo the Lion. I know it got a 0.0 because that broke the rating system.
Yeah, we now have to claim 0.0. It's actually a 21-point scale.
I'm surprised it didn't go into the negative. I was expecting a negative.
like
a
I
negative
said
5.
on the show, it'd be I wouldn't call it hot flaming garbage, because that would be an insult to hot flaming garbage.
Right. Now, I would say I would probably give this an 8 or an 8.5. I really like it. I know it's not perfect. There are a few things that haven't aged well and a few things that have been left dangling because we never got a sequel. And so, but yeah, probably 8.5 is where I would put it. I highly recommend it to anybody to watch it. It's actually really interesting to see this, knowing that this was made just a few short years before the MCU landed on a tone and a style that then everybody started copying. Because if this had been made just a few more years later, it would have been more like an MCU movie, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was before the MCU became that and released in a year, the one-off year that the MCU had since 2008. So, it is very different, as you were pointing out, feeling very 80s, very much of a different era. So I highly recommend people find it and watch it. It's on Disney Plus. And once you're done with that, go give the original, I would say, if you haven't seen it, and Tron Uprising a try.
I would say watch the original movie first before you watch this.
Probably.
But yeah.
I think you could watch it without watching the original, but
yeah, but I don't know if that's the optimal order.
Probably not.
And if you got the chance, you got the time, I would suggest it.
Yeah,
Right.
plus Tron Legacy does give you enough information
Yeah.
going into it. You can be like, if you're going at this movie fresh, be like, you haven't seen the first one, you can go in. It's like, okay, I generally understand what's going on.
Right. I'm just saying, if you have the chance and you've got time, watch the original Tron first, and then
Agreed.
this.
Which is also on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
Which I just looked it up. Iron Man 2 was the only MCU movie to come out the same year. So.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? Okay, maybe I'm thinking of there was only one movie, not that they had an off year.
Yeah, 2000. Well, there was an off year because they didn't release a movie in 2009.
That's true.
There was a year between Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2.
We've just gotten so used to the MCU being so ubiquitous, they're going to release 10 movies a year. So,
I'm hoping they go back down to 3 and stay at 3. I like 2 actually. Two movies and 2 shows. I'd be happy with that because then maybe the CG would look better.
Oh,
right.
I'm just saying that Ironheart could have looked a lot better than she did.
She-Hulk could have looked like She-Hulk.
There was no saving She-Hulk in the last episode. Because I have opinions that last episode not only ruined She-Hulk, it kind of ruined most of what Phase 4 was doing.
Oh, yeah. I gave up after a couple episodes, watched the Daredevil episode, got disappointed, heard about the finale, and watched the controversial bit of the finale, and I'm like, no. No.
No.
No, Deadpool is looking at you and saying, that's breaking the fourth wall too hard.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Anyway, Jacob, what are you rating this?
I'm gonna give this a solid 8. This it's a great film. It's a great sequel to its predecessor Tron. It has like Nate used earlier the comparison to The Wizard of Oz. It has so many of those wonderful nuances as a film. It has great character. There's the uncanny valley gets a little crispy here and there, but
It's not the worst Uncanny Valley we watched.
it's not. It's not. Believe me.
I would say the Polar Express was worse than this.
Yeah.
Ben Avery still can't watch that movie for that reason.
But overall, the movie is really well done. Yeah, highly recommend go watch this movie. It's definitely a very solid 8.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
Ooh.
It's just not as... I'm going to admit a lot of my reason I'm lower than both of y'all is because it's not really what I wanted. But you take out what I wanted and it's still a good movie. So, yeah, 7.5. It's a fun, enjoyable trip. It's just, I don't know, maybe I think I was wanting something more in tone, more maybe with the first movie, but I'm fine with this also.
Right. I will confess that a large part of what gets this movie as high as it is for me is that dang soundtrack, man. I mean, the soundtrack is so good. Never underestimate a good soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Because I gotta admit, there are parts of there's a part of me that I look at some of these, obviously nostalgia based films, and I look at it going, why can't we just have what the other one did, but with the budget we would give something now with the technology we have now? Why do we have to change everything to fit a tone that I don't know? I'm thinking I may be reaching too far. I just wanted more of what I saw in the original. This is technically a different film. Should let it be what it is. Either way. Anywho, where was I going with that?
I thought you were going to transition to...
Yeah, I need to transition to the next thing.
Yes.
I had a brain fart. I apologize. 9:45. I'm sorry.
He's a tutor.
Yeah.
Comes out of his ears.
I walked right into that.
Unfortunately, only the patrons. Oh wait, did we say that on the air? I forget.
I think that's a patron thing,
It's a patron thing.
and technically, so is this. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into our next segment. So Jacob, I have a question. I don't have a question for you yet. I have that in a minute. But first, we got to get a word from our sponsors. And so we'll join you on the other side of the intermission. And after that, we will talk about, all the other stuff.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Stunning and Brave, where each week hosts Chris Cowan of the Babylon Bee and Nate Henderson of Some Boring Budgeting Job confess their privilege, spotlight stunning social media posts, and fabricate outrage, all while keeping you super woke and enlightened. They will make you laugh. That's right. You have no choice. Check out Stunning and Brave at stunningandbrave.net.
The Cellcast would like to thank the following patrons: Josh Adams, Ashley Ruiz, Book of Gaming,
and PaulJPowers.com.
To get your name on the show, plus uncut episodes, early access to the Cellcast Plus reviews, and special art from Jacob, please donate to us on Patreon.
I still find it funny to have the Master Interrupter interrupt the Patreon shout out.
And it's not me.
Yeah.
Or you, Jimmy.
All right, Jacob, I do actually have a question for you now.
All right.
What have you been watching?
All right. So what have I been watching? So actually a lot, this past, the past week and a half. So we did a singles movie night last Saturday.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
I was there for that.
Yes, you were. You had to go find a DVD player. Be like, the DVD would not connect with the TV.
Let me explain.
Okay.
Because it's a lot. There's a little bit to it.
A little.
A couple years ago, our church did a big AV upgrade and replaced like a bunch of the TVs around the building. They replaced the one that we were going to use was in the coffee alcove, and it only had HDMI ports on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the singles department DVD player that we've had for years that works fine with the television that's actually in our Sunday school room only has RCA jacks. So it wouldn't work on that television. So I had to run back to the apartment, grab my Xbox, take it all the way back up there so we could watch this movie. Fun fact.
I hope it was worth it.
My disc 1 of Power Rangers Turbo was still in the unit when I got there. So we'll just watch that instead. Well, anyways,
we watched a little movie called Courageous Legacy. It's a movie that came out in 2000. What was that?
Wait. As in the movie about cops and fatherhood?
Yes, that one.
Yes, that's a sequel?
It's not really a sequel. It's more like 2.0.
Yeah, they added like 10 minutes
some
onto
extra scenes, and they put in like a extended end scene to show what happened 10 years later.
Yeah.
So you saw Courageous Legacy and Tron Legacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Which legacy was better?
I think I preferred Tron Legacy just simply because I think it was a better written movie, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
There were some moments, I'll admit, there were some moments in Courageous Legacy that got me.
Yeah, agreed.
There was just a lot of points where I was looking at it and going, good night. Who wrote this dialogue?
It's a little stilted here and there.
The only scene I remember from the original Courageous was the scene when they were freaking out the kid in the backseat of the police car, because that was really
oh my
funny.
gosh,
That's funny.
That was hilarious.
I have concluded that the church that makes these movies, they're good at writing scenes, but not entire stories.
I also liked the scene where he realizes that the handyman he hired is not the actual handyman he was supposed to hire.
Yes.
And they're doing that back and forth. It's like a modern day Who's on First, even though it's not quite as good as that. Because like, your name said, was it Enrico?
No, it was
some Spanish name.
Yeah.
And he goes,
Okay.
yes. It's like, and what? It was a weird, cool back and forth.
So
It's like,
good.
okay, that was actually clever. It was clever writing. Why isn't the rest of this movie like this? Why do we
Yes.
have to sit through this whole stilted scene of, yes, I'm writing this resolution and we're all going to sign? And it's like, good night. I just realized y'all realized y'all could make money off this in the third party department, and that's why y'all wrote the scene. Anyway, sorry.
It's still better than Fireproof.
I didn't watch
I
Fireproof.
haven't seen Fireproof.
I
It's
tend not to
kinda
go
terrible.
watch I tend not to go watch the Christian movies in general because most of the time the writing is not that good.
Agreed.
And the filming can sometimes be worse.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
You know the film I'm referring to.
Oh my gosh.
Although I'm still a little bit curious about that Pure Flix Samson movie from like 5-6 years ago, because it looked like they were doing it in the style of Conan the Barbarian, which might be brilliant.
Huh. Interesting. I think I saw like a trailer to that at one point. It was like, it sounded interesting. So we watched that. Be like, it was a decent movie. It wasn't like fantastic. Be like, it had points that was funny as can be. It had some touching moments here and there. The dialogue, yes, was stilted
In a lot of places.
in a lot
Some
of places.
it was good, but
Yeah,
a lot of it wasn't. In fact, it was actually decent actors all the way through.
Yeah,
for
it was
the most
decent
part.
acting. Yeah, so overall, be like, it was a decent film. It wasn't like one of these, oh my gosh, I got to go buy this movie now. I've seen some movies that were far better than this, and I've seen some Christian films that were Brother's Keeper. Oh my gosh.
I've seen worse acting because I've watched The Room.
You've seen worse acting because you've watched Megaforce.
Actually, yes.
Although at least the actors are prettier in Megaforce.
At least the Yellow Ranger is. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. All right. So, like I said before, I watched the first episode of Tron Uprising on Disney Plus. I found that interesting. There again, didn't have the full context of what was going on. It was like, why is this Tron character dressed up like this? And he's, a good guy, but he's supposed to be with the bad guys. I'm like, what's going on? But understanding what you said earlier, Nate, that makes more sense now. So I watched that, and so I was getting my notes ready. I'm already on Netflix. I'm looking around. It's like, oh, this very classic movie that came out in 2001 came out. I really want to watch. I haven't seen this since theaters. What?
Very classic, he says.
Huh?
2001 is kind of classic now.
Now it's a classic.
20 years
20 years ago.
Anyway, what was it?
I put that classic at more like 40 years ago, but still.
Anyway,
Before I
what was it?
born.
Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, they have that on Netflix now?
Yes, it's on Netflix now.
But it's a theatrical version.
Yeah, it's not the extended, director's uber bunch of movie.
Hey, I just know that even with the director's edition, he was still smart enough to leave out Tom Bombadil.
Tom
Take.
A character who adds nothing to the story but is in the book and derails the book in the first quarter of the entire first book.
Okay. There again, I only know Lord of the Rings.
I will
through the
bite my
movies.
tongue on that, but okay.
I'm just saying.
I
This is a
understand
guy
why
who
he's
could-
not in the movie, but I would say he does serve a purpose in the novel.
I'm just
But
saying
anyway.
this guy could have. People always joke about how, why didn't the Eagles take the ring to Mordor? And of course, there's very good reasons why the Eagles didn't. I'm saying Tom Bombadil could have walked right up to the tower. Make goo faces at Sauron's giant eye, and then thrown that ring straight into Mount Doom from 7 miles away, and no one would, and it would, because that character is so overpowered. I'm sorry, that's the
Grandmaster activated.
I deserve that, actually. But that's always my problem with the book. It's like, Tolkien, why did you include this character? He wrecks the power curve.
I'm learning stuff every day.
Anyway, Fellowship of the Ring.
We really ought to do the animated one day.
Yeah, we will.
Which one?
All of them.
There's two of them.
We gotta go through the Rankin Bass trilogy at some point.
Well, no, there's the one from the 70s that was directed. What was that guy's name? He was famous. kind of famous animated fantasy film director in the 80s. Bakshi, Ralph Bakshi.
About
Ralph Bakshi,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's the Rankin Bass one.
Yeah.
No, it's not Rankin Bass.
It's produced by Rankin Bass.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It looks so different that I never thought it was Rankin Bass.
It's not. People always think of the Rankin Bass as the as either Thundercats or the stop motion stuff.
Mhm.
They did a lot of the 2D animation stuff too.
They did.
Okay. I was gonna say that would be an interesting one because it ends on a cliffhanger. It ends right after the Battle of Helm's Deep.
And it also does not include Tom Bombadil.
But that's because they truncated it even more than the Peter Jackson movies.
Anywho.
Yes. So the last thing I watched was Empire Games on Netflix. Apparently it's going through the different empires that were throughout the world, and they do this. It's like a documentary style, but it's a series, and I really enjoyed that. So Drew, what have you been watching?
What have I been watching? Power Rangers Turbo. That's what I've been watching.
Apparently, we don't talk about Turbo.
Actually, no.
We don't talk about Turbo.
Whoa.
Nathan may not talk about Turbo, but I will say that Turbo is surprising to me in that it's not the utter piece of garbage I thought it was. It's still not. It's still the worst of the Zordon era. But there's actually some like decent concepts I'm seeing in here, and I know some of that is not coming from Car Ranger. Some of that is trying to make Car Ranger footage work. Just from the couple episodes of Car Ranger I've also seen and go, how on earth could they fit this into what Turbo Power Rangers was doing? And then I see the actual episode and go, oh, that's how they did it. I'm just saying the fire truck episode from was it episode 11 or 12 where they if Turbo, that comes from the first episode of Car Ranger, and I had no idea how Car Ranger how that was going to work until I saw it. So anyway, sorry, off topic. Not really off topic, but anyway. Other than that, I have mostly been playing Hogwarts Legacy.
How is
Another
that?
Legacy.
You istophobe.
Whatever.
That was. Totally
I'm playing
sarcastic.
it because it's the it's the Harry Potter simulator. Let's face it. In the 1800s. No, it's actually a pretty decent game. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. So,
but this is what
Nathan,
have you been watching? Not what have you been playing?
we kind of include games also. Oh yeah, and I played some Zelda Breath of the Wild on stream the other night. But anyway.
Okay, so before you do that, be like, speaking of Power Rangers, I've been going through Power Rangers in Space
Yes.
on YouTube.
I love that one.
Yes.
No.
It's for
I couldn't have told you that Nathan liked Power Rangers in space.
No.
Okay, fine. Blue wigs and black leather. Sue me.
Thank you.
Shut up, Jimmy. You're not allowed to do that. Don't you dare talk to Mike. Not Michael, but yeah, Michael will give me flack for it too. No, don't talk to Raymond.
Anyway, Nathan, what have you been watching?
What haven't I been watching?
Besides Die Ranger?
No, I finished Die Ranger a while ago. I'm a couple episodes into Kaku Ranger now for the power trip. I've also just this week, because Drew, you and I will probably promote this a little bit at the end of the episode, but since I am now finished with the original Kamen Rider for Henshin Men, I've been going through Kamen Rider Black because it just got released on Blu-ray. And so I'm really enjoying that one. I just finished the first 12 or so episodes of that. And I'm trying to think what else. I've been trying to catch
radar at the moment.
What? Oh.
I'll admit that's not on my radar at the moment because after I finish with Turbo and Car Ranger, I've got 6 Ultraman sets staring me in the face.
Well, actually,
That's a
speaking
lot
of
of
Ultraman, I've been going through the Ultraman franchise mostly in chronological order, and I am on The Ultraman, which is a 1979 anime. Not tokusatsu, an anime, and it was animated by the studio that eventually became Sunrise, the studio that made Gundam.
Right.
And this was made the same year as the original Gundam. So, which you could tell because the Ultra host in this looks like Amuro Ray a bit, and the Science Patrol team's main ship looks like the White Base. Dallas, you need to watch this show. It's on Tubi. And so I've been watching that. And let me think what else. I've been trying to get caught up on Star Wars Andor.
I need to get caught up on that.
Yeah. Yes, Jimmy, you and I watched that together off hours. And I've talked about this a bit on Henshin Men. I am not ashamed to admit I have also been watching the original Sailor Moon. Who made you the arbiter of the man card?
I was about to say, neither one of us care that you watch Sailor Moon.
I'm just saying.
I'm aware about fighting evil by moonlight and winning love by daylight and never running from a real fight.
I'm just saying, apparently, you're not allowed to be a straight guy and watch this show unironically.
People are stupid.
Agreed.
It's just old girl Power Rangers. I mean, seriously, it's just old girl
Power Rangers. That's all it is, yeah.
True.
It's just the movie it's just a television show that actually modernized magical girl shows outside of cute shows of girls seeing what their future careers could be, because that's all Magical Girl was before that.
Well, Cutie Honey was kind of the first Magical Girl, but that's awkward.
Okay, I probably should just send you the link, but there is a YouTube channel I was watching that did this whole thing on a character called Minky Momo. That was
I've heard of that, actually.
Early Magical Girl, like a 70s, late 70s, early 80s. And there's an episode where because the toy sales dried up, and they canceled it. They decided to kill the character, like 3/4 into the thing, and the truck that runs her over is filled with Kamen Rider toys.
Oh my gosh!
To really show you what they really thought about toys.
Geez.
And then they still had to keep the show going because they were contractually obligated to finish out the season. So they had to find a way to bring her back.
Oh my gosh! Was this made by Toei?
I have to look. I don't think it was. It's got the Toei look, so maybe.
Oh my gosh! That might be the meanest, most genius thing I've ever heard of.
Well, it was after they had already given up with the original premise and actually had her fight giant robot to giant robot with something else at one point.
Oh my God.
She fought fake Godzilla. Not the real Godzilla, fake Godzilla.
Who hasn't fought fake Godzilla? No one cares.
At least it wasn't Chargeman Ken, but the less said about that garbage, the better. Let me just say this about Chargeman Ken. I lost brain cells watching that. But anyway, you were still on what you were watching.
I think I've covered basically everything that I can think of at the moment. Oh, and I mentioned already, I've been watching Trigun Stampede. And I've been very mixed on it.
I suspect we have similar opinions. Let me put it this way. When we get to which episode was that? The Rise of the Mushroom Kingdom part 3 and 4?
Yeah, 3 and 4.
That I gave my thoughts on.
Yes, you did.
You will probably agree with me.
Yeah.
I have opinions.
Yes.
I do too. Oh, but if you ever do
make me go back and watch the old Trigun.
I love the old Trigun. If you ever do Badlands Rumble, have me on. I would love to talk about Badlands Rumble.
So I gotta mark you down for Beowulf and Trigun Badlands Rumble. I remember
there
that.
you go. And if you come across anything animated kaiju, I guess you got to have me back on.
I guess.
or animated Henshin heroes, so you got to have me on for that too.
Surprisingly, that does not come up as often as you think it would.
No, it doesn't.
At least
in movie form. There's television shows, but
I could think of a couple of those. But anyway, So Jacob, what do we have in the news?
Oh my gosh, the news.
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Why, thank you, deal. And going into the news, apparently we're getting a new animated movie, from the acclaimed award-winning writer Kate McCullough. I'm probably butchering it. The Magical Elephant is coming to Netflix next month, and it's coming through, of all animation places, Animal Logic. I don't know what this place is called, but synopsis: a young
Animal Logic did the Lego movie. They're the animation studio behind.
Really?
that.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Used to be owned by Warner Brothers. I don't think they are anymore.
Ah, okay. All right, so synopsis of the film: when young Peter sets out to find his sister, his optimistic spirit guides him through an unexpected encounter.
Did you say Optimus?
Optimistic.
Oh, okay. It's like, is this a Transformers movie now?
Yes, the elephant transforms into a car.
I think that actually.
So it's a Beast Wars movie. Yes.
Yes, the actual Beast Wars movie.
And I bet it'll be better than the Michael Bay one.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying that the Michael Bay films are a thing. They're just not my thing.
Okay.
They're not what I want.
Bumblebee was good.
Just
That's what I
because
keep hearing.
it was better doesn't mean it's what I want.
Then what do you want?
I want the old show back.
Oh, okay.
Cheap CGI and all. No, I'm kidding.
Anyway,
Transformers, the Transformers, the movie.
Good movie.
Yes,
It's fun to watch that in theaters 4 years ago.
Yes, oh, amazing. Go listen to our review on that,
And probably another upcoming one.
probably.
I'll come on for that one too.
Okay,
that checks. That's kaiju.
that is kaiju.
Unicron is a
Planet-sized
kaiju.
robot that counts.
Yes. I am Unicron.
I am voiced by Orson Welles, and I am facing off against Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
And one of the kids from the Breakfast Club.
Oh, all right. Going back.
And Monty Python.
Yeah, he's there.
Yes. Dare to be stupid.
That
Fun
song
fact:
makes no
Rengar
sense
was
in
actually
context.
voiced by
That's all
Weird
right.
Al in one Transformers cartoon.
Anyway,
Yeah. Going back into the synopsis.
the magical elephant is coming, and it's
Yes.
not Dumbo.
Yes, it's kind of a Dumbo movie. And it's just like seemingly impossible task to give hope to an entire town on his way. So going into second bit of news, DreamWorks Animation's long-awaited return to the Shrek universe begins with a new adventure when Puss in Boots: The Last Wish arrives on digital on February 21st, followed by a 4K UHD Blu-ray and DVD release on February 29th through Universal Pictures Home Entertainment.
And I've heard it's actually good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, and it's a long way off from us because we've got what
Several.
four Shrek movies plus the first Puss in Boots movie.
Yes. My
It's
God.
not as bad as all the Minions movies, but still.
Well, you got to get through Shrek 3, which Shrek 3 is terrible.
I'm not doubting you here. I've heard that one's bad.
Yeah, the fourth one's a redemption to that one, but you still got that the third one. Either or. So did anybody watch the Super Bowl? I didn't get a chance.
I
to.
didn't watch the. You didn't find a place to watch
No,
it?
I didn't. I
You didn't
was
even
so
turn it
heartbroken
on
I
at
didn't.
home?
Huh?
You didn't even turn it on at home?
No.
I thought you would have looked that up to see how to, because somebody had it like for free. You could watch it.
Huh.
I don't remember who it was, but
Yeah.
I'll
I
send you
just
that link next time I
realized
see
that
it.
me raising my hand only makes sense for the live stream version of this.
Yeah. I didn't watch the Super Bowl, but I know of a commercial that was on it that you're probably about to talk about.
So a new commercial or new it's a really commercial. It's more like an advertisement for the Super Mario Brothers plumbing.
Right. Not the movie. Not the movie. Not the movie. Their plumbing service.
Plumbing service, which is absolutely hysterical.
And it was done in the style of the Super Mario Brothers.
Yes, it
Super
was.
Show.
Well, and the funny thing is that song is the theme song to the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yes.
And there's a good chance that the actress playing the customer in that was the original voice for Princess Toadstool. We don't know this for certain, but she sounds a lot like her. And that voice actress still acts. I had to look it up.
How does she not look like, well, wait, it's been a while since I saw the commercial, but I'm like, does she look like your grandma? I can't remember if she looked like your grandma or not.
No.
No, she was looking like your grandmother.
But anyway.
Yeah. So that was a thing. That was a very funny commercial. If you had not seen it, go to YouTube, look it up,
And then go to the website because it's brilliant there too.
I did not check out the website.
They have like testimonials.
Really?
One is from their mom, which is a 5-star review. The other is from Foreman Spike, who claims that. Hang on.
Oh my gosh!
I'm gonna read this verbatim. Hang on. SMB. It's already still in my history.
The website they gave in the commercial's real? It's
Yes,
a viral
it's real,
marketing
apparently.
site?
Yes. The testimonial from Spike is Cool. That's the characters. That's the name here. There's no loyalty with Mario and Luigi. The subpar Mario Brothers used to work for me until they decided to break off and start their own business. Business is spelled Bussines. They'll, no apostrophe, learn their lesson someday. 1 star. User Bros Mom says, the Mario Brothers are the best in the business. They're polite, professional, adorable, and treated me like family. 5 stars.
Wonk, wonk, wonk.
Brooklyn couple, 2 stars, says, SMBP left my house an absolute mess. I would have given them only 1 star, but my sweet angel of a dog absolutely loved them. He just wouldn't leave them alone. Yes, it's a real website.
Oh my gosh!
They're hiring.
They're hiring.
Yeah, Nathan.
No, Jimmy, you're still contractually obligated to keep working with me.
They do need a marketing manager.
Oh. Yeah, I know. I'm still bound by contract on the island. Darn.
All right, so moving on. All right, so a movie that everybody apparently just loved is coming to Blu-ray, DVD, and digital now.
Okay.
What's
And
that?
this movie was
Walt Disney Animated Studio latest animated feature, Strange World.
the one nobody likes.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched this thing.
That's the funniest thing I've heard all day.
I liked what one review for that movie said. Well, it's because of this movie I can definitely say Lightyear wasn't the worst movie to come out this year.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. And just a reminder, Strange World, its world gross was $73.6 million.
Good.
And
When
was
the movie
released
had
on
like a
Disney
$2
Plus in
million
2
budget.
weeks.
Yes. We haven't seen a movie move that fast from theaters to streaming since the pandemic.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was something. But yeah, apparently it's coming to 4K Blu-ray DVD. Audiences can enjoy the epic from home, but never enforcing
Audio listeners should note that he used quotation marks around the word enjoy.
Enjoy.
Yeah, as
I've
Luke
not seen the film
Giaconetti,
yet.
as my
We're
friend Luke
eventually gonna
Giaconetti,
review it at some point. Yeah.
as my friend Luke
Coming next Bad
Giaconetti
Movie
would
Month.
say on his show, the Earth Destruction Directive, air quotes up to the mic.
Yes. I'm suggesting we put that in Bad Movie Month.
Bad
may not
movie
be that
month.
bad.
Bad movie month part 2. Electric Boogaloo.
We are doing another one, which means I got to find the other animated Titanic movie.
The legend goes nowhere.
That's not the name of it. That is not the name of it. This is the animated one where
Oh,
the
gosh.
Titanic was not why it was. While it was sunk by an iceberg, it was because gangster sharks pushed the boat into it.
I'm so glad I was not drinking water that moment.
I need to find you. I need to find
my
you some bad
gosh.
movies to cover.
Oh, don't! I've got
Oh
some.
my gosh.
We've already done Food Fight and others. It's like, anyway. I've got some ideas.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
You
Okay.
need to find a bad anime to talk
I'm
about.
sure that exists.
Oh, there are probably a ton of them.
Well, you got to find one that's actually bad ridiculously because it's dull is not entertaining. But anyway,
All right.
Yeah,
so-
Drew says as Nathan starts to Google.
Oh my gosh.
find something. I'll look at a trailer, and if it looks absolutely stupid, I'll do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
we'll do
technically
it.
not
And then we can
animated.
drag you
but it-
into it.
Okay, it's technically not animated, but it's based on an animated property.
Oh
But
no.
Dragon Ball Evolution.
Nine.
Dragon Ball Evolution is what I would like to be on the bottom shelf, so that I can stick that in the dumpster fire.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
looking
gosh.
I'm looking at a list of like the 10 worst anime movies, and most of them I've never heard of.
That's usually the other issue with anime.
Fair.
This is why most of my choices last time came from Nostalgia Critic. Which I've got some
That is
Christmas
not
selections.
anime, sir. That is from South Korea.
What? Oh, something you're looking at.
Black Star and Golden Bat. That is not anime. It is from South Korea.
Well, Golden Bat is Japanese.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and in
anywho.
this, although okay, I guess if you want to try that, I don't know if you can get it on DVD, but yeah, Black
have
Star
a
and
ways.
Golden Bat. They turned Golden Bat into the ugliest Batman you've ever seen, and it was made in South
Ye-
Korea. He's Batman
Anyway.
but yellow.
Okay. All right. So go.
Well, yeah, that's what Golden Bat is a yellow skeleton.
Yeah, but in this, he's Batman. He's
That's
literally Batman.
Anyway,
Anyways, going back into the news. All right. So this looks
There's an
like a-
animated version of Night of the Living Dead.
do I need to mute Nathan?
Anyway, continue.
Oh my gosh. Give me a second. All right. Going back to the news. or in this case, back to action. All right. I had to do it. You're welcome, Nate. All right, animation wise, this bit of animation news was brought to you by Drew because he brought it to my attention. He's like, "Oh, this has got to be part of the news, right?" And it's like, "What in the?"
So it's
what?
Drew's
Yeah.
news.
No. I happened to see an article on AnimeNewsNetwork.com
Mhm.
and sent it his way because a Cartoon Network is going to be showing a
Mhm.
special of Avengers level crossover.
Yes. All right. So speaking of, animation on Friday. Did I actually just screw this? Yes, I.
Okay,
no,
I'll
I-
just
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. All right. So announced on Friday that Adult Swim's Tsunami programming block will air the 590th. It's like, geez, that's a lot of anime.
Yeah.
Anime episode of One Piece, which is a crossover between One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this word.
Toriko.
Toriko. Thank you. Toriko on May 4th.
This happened?
Yes.
Yes.
And this was the episode that was a rights nightmare because they're in like episode 1000 of One Piece right now.
Jeez. Yeah.
And this was before Dragon Ball Super was when this episode was
Really?
written.
Really?
Because it was written when Toriko was a thing.
Okay.
And no one knows what Toriko is.
I never heard of Toriko.
Well, I put it this way. He was a chef trying to find the best food in the world. So, of course, Luffy and Goku are the perfect people to meet up with him.
Of course.
Because they eat like everything.
All right. So
Is this canon?
No,
probably not.
it's not canon. It can't be canon.
I wish I had a cannon sound effect for that, but anyway.
What in the world does that sound?
Worry about it later.
Yeah.
I've got to change the battery.
Ah, okay. All right. So on March 4th at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, basically the 5th of March, Toonami skipping episodes, and apparently Crunchyroll or Funimation has never streamed this episode
Because it was a rights nightmare.
apparently. So apparently this will be
Because you
a
had to
thing.
get One Piece's manga author, Akira Toriyama for Dragon Ball, whoever does it for Toriko, and I think there's actually a fourth one involved in here, but I didn't recognize the name. We got lucky that they made it in the first place.
Yeah, agreed. All right,
Much less that it got brought over here, and which means Funimation, who technically is probably did the dub for all that, is going to dub this thing. I think
that's the company has not confirmed whether the version airing on Toonami will be the Japanese with English subtitles or dubbed in English.
Yeah, they've got all the people. Sean Schemmel still works for them.
True.
Anyway,
yeah. So yeah, apparently he sent me that link and I was just like, what in the world? It's like I understood One Piece was, there's a lot of episodes in One Piece. I get that, but you're doing a crossover with Dragon Ball Z of all places. It's like, okay, cool. I'll probably watch it whenever, but cool. So yeah, that's all I have for in the news.
So it's Jump Force, the series.
Well, it's one episode.
Jump Force, the episode. It's probably better than Jump Force.
But before Jump Force.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably better than Jump Force.
Very, very likely. So we do have one more segment.
Yes, we do.
Since we have a guest on here. Interrogation.
Oh, snap.
All right, so
fun fact under our
Jimmy's having flashbacks.
Fun fact under our current recording setup, Jacob didn't hear that very well, and he doesn't know what actually played because it's the first time we've had it.
All right, so as our
it was a prison door closing.
That's what I thought I heard. But either or, our lovely listeners know whenever we get a guest on our show, we get to lovingly interrogate them about animation. So, Nate,
I remember this happening the last time I was on, actually.
Yes.
It's coming back to me.
All right, so Nate,
this is our standard operating procedure.
Yes, it is. So, what is your favorite animated series that is not anime?
So cartoon.
Cartoon.
Didn't you ask me this already?
Probably.
Could be.
Probably. You never know.
And that's not anime.
Not anime.
That is not anime.
Yes.
Thundercats.
Thundercats.
The original.
Yes.
Although I do love the 2011 series too.
Yes. So what?
I just wish it was finished.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So what is your thoughts on Thundercats Roar?
Let's not.
I refuse to watch it.
Okay, fine. That works.
You fit in with this group.
Yes, exactly.
And it died. Thank God.
Well, it had like 24 episodes.
It died though.
Yeah, it died. Thank the Lord. All right, so kind of going into like your realm of like Henshin Man, Kamen Rider, Godzilla, Power Rangers.
Oh, snap.
So hypothetically, say if you got trapped into the world of, I don't know, Power Rangers in space, for example, and it'll be like you became a ranger. You became a ranger. What color ranger would you be?
So, do I want to be my Power Ranger crush's brother or pseudo boyfriend? I mean, I've met her, I've worked with her, and as Chris Cook, he won't let me live down how I stared when we killed Not Goldar together. So, yeah, it's going to be red or silver spandex. Yes, Jimmy, I know it's not spandex. Shut up.
All right, so you're like you're a Power Ranger, the Red Ranger. You don't have to be the main villain, sister, brother, whatever. So the question would be is that Astronema comes up and be like, let me finish. I've told you this before.
Oh, I know. Continue.
So he like Astronema tells
I'm probably turning red enough for the spandex at this point.
You are going red. But so you're going up against Divatox. Astronema.
Let's hope Divatox isn't involved.
She was in a handful of episodes of In Space, and she was better in Space. Because In Space made everything better.
All right, so either A, do you fight her, or do you kneel before your new empress?
Probably depends on my mood at the moment. The question becomes, am I going to be like, you're evil, I don't like this, I don't care if you're pretty, or am I going to be like, you know what, I'll simp for you, I don't care. I'm leaning toward, I don't care if you're hot, you're evil. So
Okay. Because curious minds were like had to know. But either or.
Did Michael tell you to ask these questions?
No.
No, he asked me. We were talking about it last Sunday about what we would do for the interrogation. I forgot.
Oh my gosh.
You got a good laugh out of Jimmy.
Oh my gosh, but okay. Go ahead.
Don't you dare use this as blackmail material with Jessica.
Oh.
Jessica doesn't listen to the show.
As far as I know, unless you talk about anime, then she'd probably listen.
We talk about anime from time to time.
Yeah, then she probably
We have a whole
listens.
Miyazaki month.
Yeah, she was very happy when that was going on.
Anyways,
I did think of asking Jimmy a question, but the only thing I have, I don't think he'll answer.
Oh, what's that?
How did you survive the war? How did you survive the war in space?
Did you not watch the anniversary stream? We got a lot of theories.
That was not a straight answer, my friend.
He's not talking.
I didn't figure he was.
Okay.
Gotta wait for those memoirs, right?
You gotta wait for the memoirs, yeah.
oh my god.
Although we did get some great theories when we did the anniversary stream. My personal favorites being it was the aliens from Ghidorah, the three-headed monster,
The Zillions?
and the other one being what was it? A wizard did it.
And
that was
Wizard
the
did
entire.
it, probably is it.
That was the entire theory. A wizard did it.
Q was involved. Gotcha.
Probably.
All right. Unless you can think of others, I have nothing left.
I don't. Let's just go ahead and jump into our review of the X-Men animated series.
Snicked.
Previously on X-Men.
He's a sulky, over-bulky, kinda hulky superhero. A two-fisted and electrically transistored superhero. An exotically erotic and aquatic superhero. The Marvel superheroes have arrived. X-Men, X-Men, it's the day, X-Men, X-Men, come and go.
and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar.
All right. Days of Future Past, part 1 and 2. We're actually nearing the end of season 1, by the way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There's only one more episode after this.
Right, which will be the only one we review next week.
Yep. Yep.
So this episode, like all the episodes, are technically directed by Larry Houston. I say technically because they never actually list a director. This is just the closest any resource claims, which was Wikipedia. Because technically he was the line producer, which I think is the closest you can get to director right now. I don't know. They don't ever list the director, so that's my choice there. Anyway, it was written. The episodes were written by, the first one was Julia Jane Lewald, and part 2 was written by Robert M. Skier and Marty Eisenberg. In these 2 episodes, the mutant bishop travels back in time to avert a future catastrophe. Guest cast for this one, we've got Philip Aiken as Bishop, Mark Strange as Forge, Randall Carpenter as Mystique, Robert Kalt as the Blob, Graham Haley as Pyro, Rod Coneybear as Avalanche, and Lynn Carlson as Senator Robert Kelly. The first episode originally aired March 13th, 1993, and the second one aired March 20th, 1993. During this getting into the trivia for this, during this episode, the X-Men, one of the gravestones that Wolverine sees is marked for Jubilee on 2010. That's a fascinating coincidence, considering the Jubilee of the comics actually did die in a 2010 comic story. That's when she was turned into a vampire during that year's Curse of the Mutants crossover. Bishop and Forge weren't in the original comic story of Days of Future Past. The time traveler in that was Kitty Pryde, who does not appear at all in this series. She is replaced by Bishop, who does not appear at all in the original story.
Except Kitty Pryde was in that pilot episode that they did.
Except that was made like 5 or 10 years prior, so it's not really connected at all.
Prior, huh?
That was unintentional.
Yeah, no, that was the late 80s, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was like 80.
Either way, it's technically separate productions.
Yeah.
Because it's not even like the same voice cast.
No,
I think
it was made by the same studio that did G.I. Joe and Transformers. So if you watch those shows, you'll recognize the voice actors.
Oh, yeah. This episode is based on the Uncanny X-Men Volume 1, number 141. It is the first ever adaptation of the Days of Future Past comic storyline by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. The second episode was based on Uncanny X-Men number 142. The cover for the Assassin video game features the Marvel Comics vigilante Punisher on the cover.
It's the Punisher.
Yeah.
Something I should mention about the adaptation.
Admittedly, when I looked at that, I thought, "Oh, Assassin's Creed even existed then." Okay.
Yeah, there you go. But the other interesting thing about this being an adaptation of those comics and the inclusion of Forge and Bishop, I don't know when Forge first showed up, but Bishop was incredibly new at this time. He'd only appeared 2 years before in the comics. And what they did is they took because I've read Days of Future Past. They took the Days of Future Past story and then combined it a bit with a Bishop story where he traveled back in time looking for a traitor in the X-Men.
This seems to be the normal way that this show adapts these comic storylines.
Yes.
Right.
Now, same thing with like the first X-Men story, like back during Intermagneto.
Right. Now, I've said
the magic word. Hang on.
Yeah.
I am Magneto, master of magnet.
That's not even the best line from that game.
No, but it's the one that makes me laugh.
The best line from that game is X-Men, welcome to die.
Right, but this was the first one that came to my mind.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway.
But anyway, yeah. So yeah, like I said, they kind of combined them a little. It's still more Days of Future Past than the other story.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually call this an adaptation.
Right. The method of time travel used in this storyline from the comic book didn't have a person physically go back to the past. Instead, it had a telepath causing the mind of Kitty Pryde, her future self, to switch with the mind, or Kate Pryde, sorry, her future self, to switch with the mind of Kitty Pryde in the present at the time of the assassination.
Which is actually something the movie adapted better
Wolverine.
or adapted closer.
Right.
Yeah.
Go figure.
But it had another burly man go to the past.
Instead of Metal Claws is more like what Bone Claws.
Except the Bone Claws was started before that, which the less said about Bone Claws, the better. Bishop's mutant file is 051063-241. It is 3 digits off from Jubilee's file number in Night of the Sentinels Part 1, which was 051063-244.
And this is relevant. Why?
I just find it interesting
Oh, okay.
that her number is technically higher than Bishop's, despite there's 40 years difference? 30, 40 years difference? Anyway.
Yeah.
Storm comments that she knows Gambit better than anyone. In the comics, it's actually Storm who brought Gambit onto the team. Wolverine's skeleton can be seen floating in a tube when Bishop returns to the future, indicating that he died in the last episode.
Which minus it looks more like a Terminator.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, so is it just the animanium part of the skeleton? Because technically, shouldn't he still be able to regenerate from that?
Yeah. He's done it before in the comics.
No. That's because they've made him ridiculous. The only person who should be able to do that are characters like Lobo and Deadpool, who are powered by parody.
I'm just saying. Anyway.
I have heard that he's been decapitated and still survived, because if you can get the head back to the body in time, it will reattach itself.
I mean, according to one comic storyline, he was the very first human, period, and is still alive somehow. But the less said about that comic, the better.
Modern comics are stupid.
Yes, they are. Rogue recognized a familial tie with Mystique before it was revealed she was her mother. In the comics, Mystique was also Rogue's adopted foster mother under the guise of Mallory Brickman. The comic version Rogue was recruited into Mystique's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants without knowing that Mystique was also her mother in the comics. And Mystique attempts to assassinate Senator Kelly on the orders of serving Apocalypse. In the comic, Mystique was her own woman and decided to assassinate Kelly on her own.
Yeah, she was the leader of the Brotherhood at the time.
Yes, because Magneto was off having fun elsewhere. But anyway, fun fact, Nathan, I know you hadn't listened to the past episodes, but do you realize that after was it episode 4, Magneto's no longer the villainous character? He never does anything evil ever again in this show.
I do vaguely remember that. I've seen the whole show before. It's just been a while.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I did not realize that. So when I got to that piece of trivia, I was like, really? That just shows how the presence of that character, considering I thought he was the villain all these years.
No, they had other villains
turned good
who
later
appeared
on,
throughout
but-
the show.
Yeah, right. But anyway, Nathan, since you're our guest, what are your thoughts on these 2 episodes?
Well, it's actually a surprisingly good adaptation of the comics. I'm also really surprised that I feel like this is one of the few 90s era animated series that unabashedly talked about death. Because I mean, like the whole plot of this episode hinges on an assassination.
Yeah.
And they don't hide that.
This is the same company that caused the Power Rangers just to destroy monsters, not to kill them.
Right. It's just I forgot how remarkably mature this show was. It's almost like it had. I mean, other than the fact that they can't get really intense with the violence, you could have made this for adults. I mean, I would have believed this was meant for adults, or at least teenagers, because it doesn't feel like a kid show necessarily, because of just the attitude that it has, and the fact, like I said, that it just unabashedly talks about death. So, like I said, I was watching these again. I was impressed. This is the first time I've watched the animated series in a really long time, and like I said, I forgot how good it was. So those are my opening thoughts on the matter right now.
Okay, Jacob.
I enjoyed it. There again, I have not watched. I have not read the comics, and having be like Kitty Pryde gets no love anywhere except in the comics.
Well, I mean, she was a pretty major character in X-Men Evolution.
That is true, but like we're talking more. Agreed there. But like any other, just like Kitty's just not in it. Kitty's a pretty cool character, what I remember.
Right.
But,
I prefer Shadowcat to Pixie, but moving on. Oh, Sprite. That's what she was, not Pixie.
The Sprite, yeah.
Sprite,
yeah, that was the name she went by for a while. By the way, fun fact, the original comic book storyline took place in the future portion took place in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they jumped ahead.
They
jumped ahead to 2055 in this.
Oh my god!
I will say I did like the joke when Bishop first shows up in 1993. Nothing's changed. The time travel didn't work. I'm going, yeah, you just really, that's a big dig at New York City right there.
Yep.
Wait, I also love the fact that they still try to. I also love the fact that they try to be non-specific and specific all at the same time.
Yeah.
Just say, oh, we're going back to the 1990s. Bishop sees a newspaper and it's like, it's the year 19. Wow, it worked.
It's like, and what's crazy is he says March 15th, I think. And it's like, that's the day the episode aired.
Dang.
So it's like with Henshin then. You found out.
It just happens again. I didn't have to dig through the Japanese imperial calendar to figure this out.
Gosh. Oh gosh. Yeah, good episode. I really enjoy it because there again, it's revolving around the mystery, like who's the assassin, and be like everyone thinks it's Gambit, and Paul Gambit gets no love, but obviously it was Mystique who's doing the entire time, and it's a good episode. You'll be like, it harkens back to other events that happen in the story. What's going on in the X-Men animated series going on at the current time, but it's a good episode, and
it does actually a good job of mixing in the actual story.
Yeah, it does.
Because in one way, this is an event comic that kind of interrupts what's going on.
Yes, it does.
Except it was only 2 issues. That's the nutty thing. It was just this 2-part story that's just there as part of it's just a part of a normal monthly run of these comics. If this was made now, it'd be like a 12-issue event comic.
It'd take a whole year for them to finally finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if this was the 90s, 12 years. That may be a dig at a certain Clone Saga.
Oh gosh.
Not X-Men related, but either way, that'll come up later.
Oh my gosh.
No, meaning is like this, despite the fact that this story kind of interrupts what the storyline that the first season is kind of doing, it's actually still works with it because you still get all the stuff laid with the Sentinels. We get to see Master Mold again, even though we don't get his best line.
Oh gosh,
I'm still plugged in.
and the next episode after this one is just like, what?
It fits. It's like we get this nice continuation of the story, even though we're coming at it from a different angle.
Yes.
So I really like that it's because in my mind I saw, we're doing Days of Future Past. That'll interrupt everything. And it really doesn't. It does, and it doesn't, because for the most part, we're following Bishop through the whole story.
True.
But at the same time, we're still following the story the main characters are going through, so it works.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
It does.
what I find really interesting looking at this now and knowing that this was about a little over a decade from the original comic book story, because the original
Mhm.
comic book story, I think, was 1981, I want to say, and this was 93. And as this adaptation went on, and I started to realize, oh, some very important franchise that started after this comic book was published is clearly influencing this adaptation, and they even call it out at least twice, I think, in the episode verbally, and that is Terminator.
Yeah.
Because this really does feel like that comic book story filtered through Terminator, because there's a greater
Especially with-
emphasis put on the Sentinels in this
Especially with
compared to the
skeletal
original comic,
Wolverine
from
at
what
the
I
end of it.
remember.
Yes. I would say this, the animation definitely for the future part.
Yeah.
Like the detail.
I just remembered there's even a music cue that sounds eerily like the Terminator theme. In
It
this.
does. That's right. There is. The animation in that first section is gold. Like animation in the entire these two episodes are done extremely well, and the amount of detail they put into, like, when you get a close up of old man Wolverine Logan's face.
Oh yeah,
it's
old man Logan.
Wow.
Yeah, we are a far cry away from 3 or 4 episodes ago when they couldn't even get the colors right on the X-Mansion.
True,
because the color, the layers were mislayered. We're a far cry from that, right? With this episode, because this one is even the future stuff where it's supposed to be post-apocalyptic and ugly and horrible looking. It's like, this is still pretty in a way.
Right.
This is still
right, and
still
even
well
those, and even those bit characters at the beginning get some good lines. I even wrote one down. I was like, "What a shame! Now we can't surrender."
So good, such good episodes.
This is one of the better episodes I think we've reviewed so far.
I agree, completely agree.
Right. And there's a lot going for it, and introducing Bishop, adapting even at that point, that was considered a classic X-Men story, and so I forgot just how good this era of Marvel animation was. It was firing on all cylinders, and just this was such a bold show. There's some later episodes that when I look back on it now, I'm like, I'm amazed they let them do this.
Yeah.
But we're talking about these episodes specifically.
Right. These 2 episodes specifically.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will. I almost forgot this because I didn't want to bring this up. We do have another Terminator reference with another metallic character from the future,
Nimrod.
Which. Okay, look, I know why they use the name Nimrod. I'm aware of the biblical reference of the great hunter. That's what he's supposed to be, a great hunter. But let's face it, because of Bugs Bunny, I always look at Nimrod as being an idiot.
Yes.
Right.
So I'm still looking at this going, you're saying this wrong? Is this Nimrod his actual designation from Master Mold, or is this your nickname for him? is this like how I always featured Dr. Robotnik in Sonic, where Dr. Robotnik was his real name and Eggman was just what they called him to make fun of him until he fully embraced Eggman later, and we won't get into that.
Well, the other thing is I forgot how this was one of those few shows where they would actually shoot people, but then then conveniently all the weapons are on stun.
And it's always laser guns because you can't fire real bullets.
Yeah, you can't fire real bullets, but it made sense here. It just cracked up. Everything's always on stun. I love how the cliffhanger is Bishop sees Gambit walk in, and then because Bishop has memory issues because of the time travel, because the time travel gets interrupted by Sentinels, and he's like, "You're the assassin," and then he just gets his gun out and shoots him, and then you're like, oh no, how's Gambit not going to get shot? Well, he's not going to get shot because Rogue would jump in the way, but he'll still get shot after that.
Right.
But nobody dies magically.
And then you start the next episode, and they jump back a couple minutes so you can see Rogue
That threw me
and
off.
Gambit driving up to the X-Mansion. And I kind of knew something was going on because of how the last time on X-Men that part ended, because it didn't show that part.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait a minute, that's an important thing if you're going to jump right into the next moments. I was like, oh, it's because we're going to see that from a different angle.
Right. It just cracked me up that, you know, we'll actually shoot people, but we also kind of undermine the fact that we're going to have people get shot because they get shot and they don't die.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. Speaking of weird.
Because network censors.
Yes.
Right. But speaking of weird, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, and maybe I'm just misremembering how things used to be, but I've been watching a lot of these 90s era Marvel shows on Disney Plus. And have you noticed that when you get to pieces of animation that are particularly flashy, it gets dimmed?
That's a Disney Plus thing.
That's what I figured it was. I'm like, they're probably dimming it because they want to make sure nobody has an epileptic seizure.
I claim it's a Disney Plus thing. This is a modern standards and practices thing with the flashing lights because they don't want to trigger epilepsy, which I get.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Yeah,
but
you can thank Pokemon for that.
Yes.
Actually, there's some more. You can blame some other things, but that we won't get into that. But there's some newer stuff that they've done some atrocious stuff with trying to stop the epilepsy. But it is what it is.
Right. It was just a thing that I noticed.
If he doesn't get a seizure, I'm safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's a lot more susceptible to it than I am. Which be interesting when we go to watch Spider-Man in Across the Spider-Verse if they do the same intro, which nearly gave you a seizure.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Which I didn't think about at the time.
It happens. It happens.
Jacob, whatever you do, don't watch the Speed Racer movie.
Oh gosh. I was seeing clips of that. And it's like, whoa, okay, that's intense.
The first television. When I actually watched it, I'm like, this might be the first movie that could technically be a murder weapon because if your enemy has epilepsy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which that's not as bad as Incredibles 2.
Incredibles 2 wasn't terrible, but it still was like
it would. Yeah, I can much more see how that would cause problems than the opening logos to Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse did for you.
Yeah, no, but anyway, getting back to these episodes, I have to. You guys joked about not paying attention to details. One interesting detail that I appreciated in this is Bishop does steal he hijacks, I should say, a bus. First off, I'm like, is he really just going to walk on this bus carrying a gun and no one's going to care? Nope. Everyone runs out of the bus. But then even when he takes over the bus, he doesn't quite drive it correctly. I'm like, thank you for paying attention to the fact that he probably doesn't know how to drive a 60-plus-year-old vehicle properly.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like any one of us trying to drive an old car. We might be able to do it, but it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
Well, admittedly, you put me in a car with a stick shift on, I'm not going to do too well because I'm used to automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But anyway, we got anything else before we end the episode?
No, this was really good 2 episodes and can't wait for the end of this season. And on into season 2.
All right.
Well, I did have a few other notes here that I thought were interesting.
Go right ahead, because I forgot to look something up earlier.
Okay. Well, like the not Days of Future Past portion of this with Beast in prison, I actually thought was really interesting because, he's in prison. He's like, I could escape whenever I want, but I'm not going to because of the cause. Which I thought it's such a Beast thing to do. Beast is such a wonderful character.
I agree. There was also one point I did notice, be like, in the first time in this series, the X-Men actually helped humans for a change. Actually saved humans for the first time in the season.
Yeah. And I would also like to say that I have been to where the climactic fight of part 2 takes place with the Brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, over by the Washington Monument. It's like, oh yeah, I know that location. They actually got it down pretty well.
Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, so I've actually been there. So kudos there. And I also actually have a little bit of nostalgia for that fight because I remember channel surfing one Saturday morning and coming across it. And I specifically remember the part where Blob got blasted in the gut and he belched. I don't know why. I just remember that part. And I remember the ending with the magnet. I didn't get it at the time, though, because I didn't know who Magneto was. This show was my introduction to X-Men, as I'm sure it was for a lot of people.
Yes, it was mine. So
Right. And I also just wrote down just a few funny lines that, particularly in part 2, that I'm like, somebody in this writer's room is just having too much fun. Because this is when Gambit is going after Mystique disguised as him, and you have lines like, "Surprised to see me? I know I am."
That was good.
This will anger Jimmy, but the first thing that comes across my mind is, "This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them."
Oh, calm down. Anyway, and then I forgot how good Rogue was in this show. She is so good.
I remember her being one of my favorite characters from this back in the day, and being disappointed when the first live action X-Men movie came out.
Right?
Like,
yes.
You are not Rogue. I'm sorry.
You are not Southern enough. I mean, because I forget what that actress's name was, but I wish they could have given her lines like this. I could spit on him if I wasn't a lady.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the funny thing was, this is labeled a 2-parter, but it still kind of ends on a cliffhanger.
It does.
Well, that's because
when I got to the end, it was like, wait, I thought I'm only covering these 2 episodes because I thought it was a 2-parter. But there's still a cliffhanger here.
All of these episodes that have finished on a cliffhanger. There's been very few that actually finished up. It's like the end of the story.
Which was, I remember when I was trying to watch the show, it drove me a little bit crazy because I'm like, there's not any real resolution. It was very, very serialized.
And what was bad when Disney Plus first launched, these episodes were out of order.
Yeah,
that's right. They were
in broadcast order.
Day 1 Disney Plus was a mess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember I watched Enter the Juggernaut, and the episode that came before it was not the one where the X-Mansion got destroyed.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
I was like, when? Y'all just rebuilt that. How'd it get knocked down again?
Oh, the Enter the Juggernaut, which became
that's the one that has my favorite X-Men,
later,
which is Colossus.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then it became meme fodder later in the at the point in the internet where memes were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one, the Enter the Morlocks. The Morlock episode actually has a lot more memes from it, but because that's the one where with Wolverine caressing the picture.
Oh, God.
And then
he cuts it in half.
Cyclops and Jean Grey kissing, and Wolverine's just standing there like a third wheel, like the third wheel he is in that relationship. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
I forgot to mention when we finished the movie what our next movie that we're reviewing is.
Yes.
Our next one is our first Rewind episode. Where by popular vote, our first movie on the Rewind is Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse. Which I didn't realize when I was making those references earlier.
Go figure.
And then the X-Men episode we're reviewing next week is just one. It's episode 13 of season 1, and it is The Final Decision. So join us for that.
That's a title with weight. Good Lord.
Yeah.
If you know your history, oh my.
See, that's the thing about this
show.
Okay,
they tweaked it. In history, it was the final solution.
Oh, yeah.
So
now I get your reference. Got it.
This is the thing about this show versus all the other TAS stuff is I had to, because A, seasons are odd numbered.
Yeah.
And B, some of these sagas, I'm specifically saying saga for a reason, are odd numbered. I had to rearrange stuff. It's never out of order, but there's a lot of episodes. There's a couple episodes where we're only reviewing one episode, and this next one happens to be the first one.
Ah.
So yeah, join us for that. Anything else before we get out of here, guys?
No, I think I've covered basically everything I wanted to say about it. Just like I said, pair of great episodes. If you've never seen X-Men the animated series, what you poor deprived child.
Yes.
Go watch this show.
Watch it for nothing else but the Ron Wasserman soundtrack.
Oh,
Yes.
that theme song is
iconic.
is a classic, and it needs to be brought back in a movie.
It is, I think, being brought. They have referenced it twice in the MCU now.
They have.
Right.
Let's see if they actually do anything with it.
Well, we're supposedly getting that sequel series.
We'll see when it happens.
Mhm.
Other than that, I think we're going to end it here. This has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
This is Nathan. And Jimmy from NASA.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page,
hang on.
Jacob's Daily Art.
Breaks.
Iris realized something. I didn't give Nathan a chance
Yeah,
to
I was-
self-promote himself.
I was wondering when we were going to get to that.
I'm still not used to the new format. I am sorry.
It's like, yeah, Nate doesn't do anything. He's not like every podcast.
I just come on the show.
The internet.
I haven't been co-hosting a podcast with Drew for the last 3 months. But
Like I said, in my defense, I'm not used to this new format yet.
You're keeping all of this, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you're welcome.
If for nobody else than
Full
the patrons. So Nathan.
Yeah, should have said something, Jimmy.
So Nathan.
Oh, I get it. You're not producing their show. You produce my show. I see. All right. Anyway, shameless self-promotion time?
Yes, Nathan, please give us some shameless self-promotion. Where can we find you?
As we said, and this has actually been kind of fun because this is one of the rare times I get to leave Monster Island, go on other podcasts and talk about stuff that's not kaiju. So today it was Tron and X-Men, which is just wonderful. So yes, the Monster Island Film Vault, a podcast seeking entertainment and enlightenment through tokusatsu. We talk a lot about kaiju films. We talk about on tokusatsu. Obviously, you guys have been on a couple of times. I think, what was it? I've had you on a couple of times for Godzilla the series from 1998. And you guys sponsored an episode. We had a crossover for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie.
I'm a fraud.
One of 3 times in 2022 that I talked about that movie.
And depending on how you look at it, either the most ill-timed episode or the most perfectly timed episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yes.
It is.
We miss you,
It
JDF.
is. R.I.P. JDF. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
didn't mean to end us on a sad thing, but moving on.
Right. Yeah. Let's not end on a sad thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
We'll be on a future episode, so I know that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You guys are coming back, and we'll be coming back later this season. We're finishing up. We ran into some production delays, unfortunately, because crazy things happened on the island for season 3, which was Amerikaiju, so American Kaiju films. This season 4, we will be doing the Monster Island World Tour because Jimmy and I have to go wrangle some escaped kaiju who conveniently went back to their home countries. We just decided to make a stop here in Texas while we were doing it. So we're looking at kaiju films that were made anywhere but Japan and America. So
I was about to
stuff
say,
like
what Mexican kaiju was close enough for you to drop by?
Well, you do have Gareth Edwards' Monsters, which is a British film that takes place in Mexico.
Ah.
Okay.
We do have a couple of those things to go wrangle at some point or another.
That's because that would be the closest thing not in America, but anyway.
Right. So so we got some exciting stuff going on there. You'll get to hear us talk about stuff like Super Inframan, which yes, I know is that's a Henshin hero thing, but there are kaiju in it, and I needed an excuse to talk about it.
Didn't that come up on Henshin Men?
It did. Doing it again.
Fair enough.
Doing it
That wasn't a
again,
dig.
or we're also going to be spending some time in South Korea because there's a lot of South Korean kaiju films, believe it or not.
That's not that big a surprise for me, actually.
Yeah, stuff like Yongari.
We're actually doing
and-
a South Korean anime in the next couple weeks.
Oh, there you go. So stuff like Yongari and The Host, and then we're gonna go over to Europe, and I will finally make my patron and frequent guest Damon Noyes happy. We will talk about Reptilicus. He has been clamoring for Reptilicus for like 2 years. So he's finally getting his wish. So that's what I got going on there. And then I am also, I hinted at it already with Drew, you have been a temporary co-host for me on Henshin Men, a podcast that celebrates Japanese superheroes and their high-flying and high-kicking adventures. So we have finished recording all the episodes. They just need to be edited and published. So we will finally have our coverage of the original 1971 Kamen Rider finished.
And boy, were some of those episodes a trip.
Yeah. What did you call them? What was it? Was it Evil Rider Sentai Shaka?
Shaka Ranger.
There
Shaka
you
Rider.
go. Shaka Rider. Yeah. Shaka Khan? What?
Something.
Yeah, something like that.
It was right after we had the Children of the Gel Shockhorn.
Children of the Gel Shockhorn, eating Crowox.
Yes. Spider Lion.
Spider Lion. Oh my gosh. Jacob.
That was a trip.
Jacob, I don't know if you're ready for the original Kamen Rider.
That's what I have gleaned from this guy is like, whoa, what the?
I'm just gonna say you haven't gotten to those episodes yet, but I may have commented on my viewing on this show.
You have.
I'm looking forward to hearing those episodes. We were like, so I'm watching Kamen Rider. What in the world is this?
What is going on? Oh, I admittedly, knowing that my episodes were coming out before yours, I tried to be a little non-spoilery.
Smart move. And then obviously we've referenced this several times. I am also the co-host along with my friend Michael Hamilton of the Power Trip, a journey through the Power Rangers franchise. We spent a year going through the entire Power Rangers franchise. We covered it season by season. Henshin Men is a sprint. Power Trip is a marathon. Be prepared for that. You're looking at least a 2.5 to 3 hour commitment per episode on average.
And that's a short episode.
Yeah, for sure. Although we've had shorter ones this season because we're covering comic books as we wait for more Ranger stuff. We're also covering Super Sentai with a season at a time. But we're only doing one a month instead of two because it takes a little longer to digest Sentai.
No kidding.
Yeah, but we also we'll have episodes coming out for Power Rangers Once and Always and for Cosmic Fury, the big 30th anniversary stuff that's coming out for Power Rangers later this year.
If I can never get caught up on what I'm helping with that podcast on, I might actually finish Dino Fury.
Yeah. And then I'm also a cast member for Power Rangers, the audio drama. I play Rito, who crashed our episode when you guys were on.
I'm just glad he didn't have an excuse to tag along this time. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he could have really added anything here.
No, I'm glad he didn't tag along. We can only handle so much of the snarky boathead. Yeah, so there you go. So I'm part of that, and I'll announce it here. I have also that was because Power Rangers drama was made by Carl Dutton and Scyther Incorporated, Scyther Inc. And he also has an X-Men show, and I have just been cast in the X-Men show, but that episode has not aired yet, so I can't tell you who I'm playing. All I will say is that it's a character who could technically reference Rito and get away with it.
That's probably the safest reference, because the first thought that came to my mind, I mean, I do live behind a Mexican food restaurant. But anyway,
Jeez. Wow. Wow, sir.
Anybody? Wow.
Oh wow. And also if you wanna check out my writings, go to my website, nathanjsmarchand.com, where you can see what see a blog that hasn't been updated in like 6 months, and see all of my books and such like that. The website for the Film Vault is monsterislandfilmvault.com. I think and I am also a regular contributor and editor for Kaiju Ramen Magazine, which just published its 8th issue, and you should go get that. Trying to remember what our theme was. We were just scrambling to get that whole thing done. I can't remember what the theme for the issue was. I'm sorry, Travis and Michael, I can't remember. We've been podcasting for like 3 hours, so my brain's a little fried.
Nearly 4.
Nearly.
Yeah.
We just were talkative, and we're still not used to this format, so we're more talkative than normal.
Right. But I think that's everything.
All right.
All right. Once again, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And this has been Nathan. Sorry. See, I'm not used to the format either. Shut up, Jimmy.
And we'll catch you on the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography.
I need to update
His
that.
Letterboxd page at ggeorge759. His Twitter at ggeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming. On YouTube at Cellcast. On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
That's it, D-Lit. No more computer world-based movies ever again. What do you mean we'll see?
Oh, brother.